welcome to the Steel City Huddle podcast. I'm Leanne Lohman. I'm joined tonight by Zach Franciscus, and tonight we have a very special guest. Brian Roach is joining us. Brian, are you still doing the Steel City Underground podcast? Do I have this right?
You do.
Okay, good. So Brian hosts that. You can find him on Twitter and find his link to his podcast page on there as well. It is draft night, guys. We are about 30 minutes away from the official start of the draft, a while away for the Steelers finally picking. I was trying to explain to my mom today how it probably won't be till like 10:30 or something when we actually get to pick. But nonetheless, how are you both feeling? Are you excited, nervous?
I will tell you candidly, this is the first year in a long time where I feel like I don't have any idea what the heck they're going to do.
Yeah.
That is 100% right. I think for me, I'm going into this. Leanne knows I have a very big picture view of things. I tend to look 5-10 years into the future rather than just now. And to me, we get to know so much about the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers by what they do tonight. Whether we're going to do the Andy Weidel thing that everyone's been talking about today, and phase 2, we got the offensive line, next side of the trenches, defensive line. Are we going to reach for a quarterback and make all of us hang our heads and scream Kenny Pickett again? Are we going to trade back and build up more? What are we going to do? How do we have short-sighted, long-sighted future? I am so excited to have those questions answered.
Yeah, I think this is a really unusual draft. I was saying this. My mom's been in the hospital, so there's been lots of trying to distract her. And I was telling her about how unusual this draft is, that usually you have this like core group of like 15 to 20, maybe blue chip talent players that are like so good, and people are going to be fighting over those players, and you have some idea where it makes sense for them to slot in. And then there's always like an outlier, right? Some team that takes Albert Haynesworth or something and it makes no sense. But I was telling her this time, like, you really don't have, you got Abdul Carter, you've got Travis Hunter, maybe Cam Ward, even though I think he's a reach certainly at number 1. It's a weird year. I mean, and then this like mesh of guys that are like mid-level talents in the middle that I kind of think throw everything out of whack. So I guess the thing I'm curious from you guys, Brian, tell us what you think. There's been all this talk the past couple of days about how Tomlin is really insistent about the drafting of Shedeur Sanders, like now that Omar Khan is the general manager, Tomlin has even more say in what happens. And while there's other people in the organization that feel like this would be like Kenny Pickett part 2, Tomlin's really insistent. How much do you believe that? And do you think that that's seriously something they're considering?
I think that you can't trust a single thing that you hear in this season. I call it the season of lies because it is. Everybody is smoke screening. Everybody is trying to put everybody else off their game. Do I think that if Shedeur Sanders is there at 21, they might consider it? Sadly, I probably do think they might, but hopefully there's enough other there that they have ranked higher. They, to me, you brought up the Kenny Pickett thing early on, and I'm just going to say the same thing. They took the best quarterback, theoretically, in a draft that was not good on quarterbacks. Now you're going to consider taking the second best quarterback, maybe, in a draft that is not good for quarterbacks. Didn't work out so good the first time around. I don't think it works out so well this time around. I've been saying consistently, on Steel City Underground, I think any quarterback at 21 is a mistake, even if it's Cam Ward.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I just did an article the other day about like multiple GMs talking about how if Cam Ward had gone in 2024, he would have been the 7th best quarterback. And you're looking at taking this kid first overall. I mean, it just doesn't, you got to make it make sense. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And Jack and I had this argument on another podcast where there was pushback. I said, just because somebody goes in the first round doesn't make them a first round talent. You know what I mean? It doesn't
100%.
mean that they should. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that's kind of how I feel about the quarterbacks. If we had a second round pick and we wanted to risk our second round pick on one of those guys, I'd be a little bit more comfortable with it. But, this fan base going nuts over this and all, very divided. Half of them really love the idea of Shedeur Sanders. Half of them really hate the idea of Shedeur Sanders. For me, it has nothing to do with Dion or who he is or his name or anything else. I mean, to me, it's simply, I just don't think he performed at a high enough level in college. Does that mean he can't get there? I think he could. But I think he should be going to a franchise where he's got somebody to learn from. And who is that in Pittsburgh? Mason Rudolph? I mean, I just don't see it. Now, maybe if we'd kept Russell Wilson for 2 or 3 years and brought in somebody like Sanders and had him learn, maybe that makes some sense. To me, it just doesn't make sense. I think you have to continue to follow, like Zach said, the Eagles' plan of building up those trenches, the Andy Weidel thing, and build the defense and or even the offensive line at this point, and just keep going. Zach, what are you thinking about Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders? How much do you buy into that?
I'm hoping Mike Tomlin did a long time ago what I told everyone yesterday to do on X or Twitter or whatever it is, which is remember who you liked a little bit ago, hold on to that and ignore every report that you see. I guarantee that guarantee is a strong word, but as close as I can come to guarantee that when the Steelers end up picking someone, we'll find out that they knew they were going to take him months ago. And everything else was just, and Mike Tomlin gets so much pleasure out of messing with the media. Just and he's so good at it. I heard on 93.7 today them talking about how Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan have made saying nothing an art, where Mike Tomlin knows if he raises an eyebrow or if he looks at, or if a question comes up and he smiles at it, an article is going to be written, and he loves that. So I think they know exactly who they're going to get, and I think they have plan B, C, and D, and I don't think any of them should or will include a quarterback.
I just think, like, if none of us none of us are sitting in the offices, none of us are experts, right? But this is the first year, like Brian said, where it's been so out there in the ether, like confusing. Do you know what I mean? Like, at least other years I felt like, okay, we're probably going to go offensive line. I knew I was pretty confident we draft Najee Harris. I was even pretty confident we were going to go for Kenny Pickett, even though I felt like that was a mistake. Like, this year, it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like the right answer should be defensive tackle, but it just doesn't feel like that. But I keep telling myself that, like, the media is mind tricking me. Like, they're making this complicated so they have things to talk about. And, I need to not buy into all of that, the rumor mill and stuff, and just continue to believe that the franchise knows what they're doing and they're staying the course.
I agree with that 100%. I think, it's hype season. As I said, it's the season of lies. You just don't know. I think, you try to trace what they're doing. The problem is they brought in every running back that is viable to draft in this draft, right? So yes, running back is on their agenda. Somewhere in this draft, they're drafting a running back. Is it going to be the first round? I don't know. If Omarion Hampton is there, maybe it is, right? If he's the guy that they value the most. I've been saying all along, Leanne, I agree completely with you. To me, it's D-line. That's where you go. That's what I believe they should do. It's what I believe they believe they should do. When they, let go Ogunjobi, to me, that was a sign. This is our priority. We need to bulk up. We need to be better. We need to not let people run down our throats. The question will be, this is a deep running back class. It's not super deep pretty much anywhere else.
No.
Right? And D-line, you get outside of Grant, you get outside of Harmon and the kid from Ole Miss, Nolan. It's not that they're bad guys lower, but it's the same kind of a drop-off that you see often, right? You got these 3 guys that are worthy of a first-round grade that you could potentially take up there. Anything else, now you're down in the 3rd round.
Well, the other thing is, I feel like with other positions, you could take somebody in a later round, maybe 3rd round, and they could hit the ground running. Like a running back, pardon the pun, could hit the ground running from the 3rd round. But I think a defensive tackle is a different position. Like, that's a guy who needs a little bit of time to develop. I mean, Cam Hayward had time to develop. He wasn't Cam Hayward as a rookie. And so I think that, you get that guy in there and it gives you some time to evaluate them and see where they belong while you still have the safety net of a Cam Hayward, because I think it's obvious. It feels to me like last season, maybe we're looking to shift directions with Benton a little bit. Like maybe they're going to move him, swing him out or something like that, and look at somebody else being the heir apparent for Hayward. I don't think it makes Benton a bad pick. Do you know what I mean? What are you thinking, Zach, about all of that? Do you think that they'd be looking to get somebody in defense earlier and running back later?
I think so, mainly because I think the Omarion Hampton thing would be great, but the amount of people that want to leapfrog us, especially the 20 at the Broncos to get Omarion Hampton, or if Genty, the amount of people that could fall randomly after the top 3 is insane. So I can easily, every draft I've done, I think it's been Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, or Walter Nolan has been the first round pick in the drafts I felt went well.
Yeah.
Other than that, I kind of threw my hands up, and I think once in the hundreds of mocks I did, I could bring myself to actually take Shedeur Sanders, and I don't like that draft at all because it throws everything else off.
I feel like I did so many articles on that, and I just feel like that felt like such a setup. Like those drafts were set up for that to be a storyline. I don't know why. Do you know what I mean? What the motive is there, even from the national media, but it feels like that's something they want to happen. The Steelers need a quarterback, and this is the only guy who makes sense.
Well, it doesn't help that, we only have Skylar Thompson and Mason, right? It doesn't help our agenda right now, right? Visually, the visuals of this are Steelers are going to draft a quarterback. Omar going and saying, we'll have 4 by the time we get to camp, says somewhere in this draft, the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback.
Sure.
And they probably will. I think it's just 3rd or 4th round, right? I think it's a guy like McCord, like Howard, one of those other guys that they can turn into the next Mason Rudolph. I don't think they're finding their gem in the rough in this draft. But you never know. That's the thing. We did a show not that long ago where we were talking about success rates for positions. The best success rate in first round picks, O-line and D-line. Yeah, those are the guys that hit more than anybody else.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that because I did something recently where I looked back at all of the quarterbacks that were picked first overall and how successful they've been. And it's a shockingly low average, than what you would
very bad
expect. You know what I mean? It's not as good as you think it is. There were some names on there. I was like, ooh, he was picked first. I didn't remember that. Yeah.
Let's pretend for a moment that Cam Hayward wasn't the age he was and we weren't looking for a successor. There's a number that should make everyone yearn for a defensive tackle. That number is 299, and that's the amount of rushing yards we allowed to the Ravens in the playoff game.
That's a good point.
For anyone who needs, I'm sorry to remind and reopen that one, but 299 yards rushing against this defense. So yeah, we need a defensive tackle badly. I mean, Cam's going to be gone soon. Imagine what that number would be without Cam.
Yeah,
so we bring in those big guys. The what I think is one of the sexiest things in football, which is a decade-long defensive tackle coming to your team.
Yeah.
Because do not forget, we're a team that is built on taking a defensive tackle that changed who our franchise was. So that 100%. Matters to me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So the other thing I wanted to ask you guys about was I saw a lot of talk over the last couple of days. I think Emmanuel Ocho said it, and Deion Sanders lost his mind, that Jackson Dart is actually a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. And then it started this like snowball effect. I don't know if Ocho was the first one to say it, but when I saw it, it was him. And then a bunch of other people behind him saying that they think that Jackson Dart will actually go ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Zach, do you think that is even remotely feasible? I mean, that kind of flies in the face of like everything people have said all off season.
I think it's 50%. Oh no, we're getting really close to the draft. Quarterbacks are more important. Start talking about them more. But I also think it's with Shedeur Sanders. A lot of people are asking, "Are you as good as you think? Your dad was your coach. We're not on that particularly good of an offensive line or rushing team. You have bad footwork." When you look at Jackson Dart, there's a lot more things that you know than things you have to wonder about how they're going to turn out. And that's why, if it came down to it, I prefer either one over Aaron Rodgers, but I prefer Jackson Dart over Shedeur.
What do you guys think will happen with Aaron Rodgers? So, like both scenarios, we draft a quarterback tonight. Let's say they draft Shador Sanders or Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart at 21. Do you think they call Aaron Rodgers and say, never mind, cancel our offer? Do you think they still keep that offer floating out there to him? Do you think he gets mad and cancels his possible whatever?
I think that the second part, I think it's very telling what Devontae Adams said. That he believes Aaron Rodgers is waiting for somebody to roll out the red carpet and go, our savior has arrived. You are the guy.
Somebody said that on Twitter today, that he has like a hero complex. He's waiting for a quarterback to go down.
Yeah. I do not. If they draft a quarterback at 21, I don't believe Aaron Rodgers talks to them again. Yeah. I think he goes, I'm not competing with a rookie. I don't want to train a rookie. I'm out. I'm just out. If they don't draft a quarterback, I think there is at least some chance Aaron Rodgers plays for the Steelers next year. But what I don't think is that they're going to bend over backwards to try and make him welcome as the hero that's going to save the franchise. I don't think they're going to do that at all, because he clearly isn't. Right. I mean, I've called him Mr. Overrated for years because I think that the media loves him. I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but he don't win anything. He's got one under his belt, sadly, against us. But outside of that, he's just a guy who throws a pretty ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was an outstanding quarterback for years. And so whether you want to say it was the surrounding cast or the coach or whatever it was, do you know what I mean? He sort of was like Joe Burrow, do you know what I mean? Where he looks really good out there on the field, but it amounts to nothing but one Super Bowl. So I don't know, Zach, what do you think will happen with him?
Well, the worst thing that can happen, I think, in this whole situation is one of two things. Either Aaron Rodgers waits until 5 minutes before the draft and then suddenly announces that he's coming to Pittsburgh, or we don't draft a quarterback and the draft is done and we're still talking about Aaron Rodgers. Those to me are the two worst situations, because I want Aaron Rodgers as far away, because every Steeler fan out there, you have to be delusional if you think we're a quarterback away. We're not the quarterback away team. We're not a win now team. We are, you got to use the R word, we are rebuilding, like dead center of that. And part of that is not being able to take a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers because it's a waste. And so I hope we take that quarterback only just to get rid of the Aaron Rodgers thing. But I hope it's Will Howard in the later rounds. So I've heard a lot of really, really good things. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I was saying today that I had thought all along that Rodgers had made a comment about how he wasn't interested in mentoring anybody. I looked that up today to verify it for an article, and I wasn't able to. I saw a couple comments where he said he would be willing. I find that hard to believe. But so I agree. I don't think he's willing to come in and mentor the next face of the franchise. I agree. Someone said it on Twitter that he wants to be a savior. He's waiting for a team to have a quarterback go down, and he's going to try to ride in and be their knight in shining armor. I think it was the allure of the Jets. He was this savior for the franchise to run out to fireworks and all this stuff. And, it's just unfortunate the way that worked out for him. But were you overall opposed to the idea of Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh to begin with, Brian?
Yes, very strongly. I said multiple times, please do not make me cheer for Aaron Rodgers under any circumstances. Look, we've lived through enough drama at various other positions. We don't need it at the most important one.
Right. We had a little taste of that with Ben years ago. Like, we do not need that again.
No, absolutely not. I wanted nothing to do with him. And then when he came in, I was like, all right, if it happens, it happens. I still hope it doesn't. I understand the need to have people in the building and have quarterbacks. And, I think they wanted Justin Fields. I think that's who they were depending on coming back. And they got outbid. That doesn't make them cheap. I think the Jets way overpaid for Justin Fields. But
I was going to say, I think both things can be true. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think when that didn't happen, I don't think they had any interest in Russell Wilson coming back. Mm-hmm. whatever the reasons were, whatever the rumors are, I just think they went, yeah, we saw that show. We don't need to see that show again.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, it's like, well, what's left? I guess it's Aaron Rodgers. If he wants to come here for a year while we go through this process, hey, great. But I am 100% in support of having Mason Rudolph be our starting quarterback next year and having Mike Tomlin's streak broken, because that's how you get the next franchise quarterback. You pick in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't like ever love the idea of not doing well in a season, but I agree with you. Like, something has to give. And I think our goal needs to be focusing on like prepping for 2026. Like, I wholeheartedly agree with Zach said that we're not a quarterback away from winning
Exactly.
a Super Bowl, right? Like, so if that were the case, then yeah, I'd give a bunch of money to Rodgers, or I don't know, whoever, right? Kirk Cousins, whoever you think can do it for you. But we're not there yet. So you make this year about getting those pieces in place. And I think we've started that process with Metcalf, and you continue that process through the draft. And I think that they've put an offer out there to Rodgers, whatever that number is that they feel comfortable with. And if he takes it, great. And come on in. And
Exactly.
if you don't, then, no sweat off our back. We know Mason, he'll be decent. Do you know what I mean? And it'll be fine. Big Poppy asked if there's any chance that the Steelers draft a wide receiver with their first round pick. If new mocks have them taking Ibuka. What do you guys think?
It could happen. And the only reason I say it could happen is the Steelers, and they make weird decisions all the time. But because of the way these guys could drop, I've seen Teteroa McKillen out of Arizona everywhere from 4th to 26th. It could be literally anywhere, and he's considered to be one of the best receivers in this draft. Matthew Golden could fall to us. Ibuka could fall to us. And all of those would be wonderful additions, except when you look closer to Arthur Smith's offense and you realize how often we use wide receivers, and we really don't. Most of it, we have single wide receivers or two. We rarely use 3 or 4. So we already have, Roman Wilson we know nothing about. We have Calvin Austin, who stepped up last year. It would be really weird for us to use that kind of pick. If we saw like a run on edge rushers, I've heard a lot of talk about there being a run on edge rushers in this first round, maybe a run on running backs if people really go nuts. You could see wide receivers fall. If that happens, maybe you trade back and get some stuff up and pick up one later on if you get that second round pick back. But it would not frustrate me as much as taking a quarterback, but it would confuse me.
It just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're like already know you're trading George Pickens, which I still just don't think it makes a lot of sense. Like I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I think we already have Roman Wilson, which is like having another draft pick.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. That's what I was going to say. If they know Pickens, and we know they've probably been shopping, at least listening to shopping offers for Pickens. If they get the right offer so that they can get a second round draft pick back, I think they can do that. And at that point, if you ship Pickens, that means a first round or a second round wide receiver makes some level of sense. What Zach said does make a lot of sense, though. They very rarely go 3 wide in this offense. And so, you've got wide receivers in house. Are you going to keep adding to that room? Only if you're removing something from it is the way I look at it. So if you trade George Pickens, then maybe it happens. I love Emeka Egbuka. I mean, I'm an Ohio State guy. So, I love Emeka Egbuka. I would love to see him come here, but I think the chances are really slim. Never say never. He's one of the guys, him, Golden, or the Arizona guy. If they're there, I think you have to be seriously looking at it, right? But not if what you're passing up on is one of the big D-line guys. At that point, you got to really think more about what is our real need.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think we've got bigger needs.
And I've heard a lot of people getting confused about the wide receivers and saying, "Oh, why would you get rid of George Pickens just to bring in another wide receiver just like him?" Brian, I like that you brought up Egbuka. Egbuka's blocking skills have been compared to Hines Ward. He loves to block, and George Pickens apparently thinks about his injury and body before he blocks. So I maybe would like a guy who really wants to throw his body in there. I'm not saying trade George Pickens. I'm just saying if it does happen, there are upsides to the guys that you would bring in that possibly might not exist here. Also, Egbuka is a high character player. No issues. He like every single person you talk to cannot say enough good things about his character.
Yeah,
and if you're trying to get far away from issues, that's the way to go. So I'm hoping I'm not
Absolutely.
speaking into an existence because of the chaos that would happen. But I can see worse things happening on draft night.
I mean, he's on his 4th year, right? This is it. Next year, he's going to want to get paid, and you're already paying DK all the money. So, there are other reasons to flip George Pickens right now if you can, because you can't. They're not going to pay 2 wide receivers.
They're not going to pay 2 wide receivers. I agree. My hope is that there's some conversation that sinks through George Pickens' skull. And I'm not sure it will. Do you know what I mean? Because I really thought if there was a chance for Pickens to stand up and shine, it was 2024. You could almost make everybody think it was all Deontay Johnson's fault. It wasn't you, and then somehow magically he got worse, which was, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'd sung his praises all off season. Everybody talked about how well behaved he was at training camp. And so I thought for sure we were going to see something totally different from him. So for him to come out like this feels like his chance, like somebody needs to get through to his head and say, like, if nothing else matters to you, like money, no one is going to pay you if you're a problem child again in 2025. They're just not. And, I think the Steelers have to be worried about the value they get out of a trade for somebody that acted up so much last year,
And if George Pickens wants, because one of the excuses that people use is, well, look at the quarterbacks he's played with or all that. If George Pickens wants to be considered in the upper echelon like he does, one name, Andre Johnson, played with crap quarterbacks his entire career, and he made them better. It wasn't the other way around. He didn't need a good quarterback. He made that quarterback better. George Pickens is not in that group, so I think I wouldn't trade him, but I would be perfectly fine with thinking maybe next year spending a 2nd-round pick on a wide receiver.
I don't disagree with the reasons why Pickens is frustrated. Like, to be clear, like, I don't disagree with why he's frustrated. I think he has a lot of reason to be frustrated between Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett and the rotation of quarterbacks and the crappy O-line. Like, I think he's got a lot of reason to be frustrated, but he can only control what he can control. And that's his response in those situations. And that was the issue for me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even about his performance on the field as much as his antics off of it and I'm usually not one to complain about that stuff, and just enough is enough, like yelling at fans and showing up late, and you just can't have that stuff.
The end of Mr. Big Chest's career may have soured us a little bit on diva behavior from wide receivers.
Well, I think too, I think about this a lot, that I think that, we forget that, like, the worst of Antonio Brown came after he left Pittsburgh. Like,
true, absolutely.
But I think we all take it personally because we considered him like a Steeler and so proud of him. And he was such an outstanding player. And he's the best wide receiver in the league at one point. And then he leaves and he acts the fool. And you feel like, like, I don't know, I felt like some personal responsibility for his behavior. Like, like he belonged to us or something, we're having to, like, say he's not our problem anymore. So I agree with you. I do think that soured people a lot. So do you guys think there's a team that picks ahead of the Steelers that could really kind of mess up the Steelers' master plan? Do you think there's somebody that could go rogue and all our players that we would be interested would be gone? Do you think that there would be somebody that would jump ahead of us that would mess up our plan? Do you see kind of someone who would muck it up for us a little bit? Or do you think that these picks are so weird that doesn't really matter?
So if their target's Omarion Hampton, then you got to be concerned about the Broncos and everybody else that wants him, right? And probably if he's there at 17, 18, somebody's going to try and leapfrog the Broncos, who they assume will take him, right? Then you have to make those kind of considerations. So that's a potentiality. It really depends on what they're looking to do.
Yeah.
Right. To me, anybody that is D-line desperate and could move up above us is a potential problem.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants a running back and might jump us to get one is a potential problem. Everybody else is not. There's certain teams that draft above us that you simply can never predict. You never know exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do, right? and so
well, my husband just said that earlier today. Like they always do something wacky.
Yeah, them or the Raiders. There's just teams that you just don't know, and they could either do something that you're like, thank you, that's fantastic that you've done that because it means somebody I want's dropping, right? Or they could take the person you want way early, and just mess you up. I think the hardest reason to decide whether there's somebody that could be a troublemaker is just that vagueness about what are they really going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, my solid feel is it's a running back or it's a D lineman, and I lean towards D line. In that case, I just don't know if there's somebody that we desperately have to worry about, other than as Big Pappy said, if there's a run on D lineman. There's
a good chance there's somebody we have to worry about, and we won't even know we had to worry about him because we don't really know what the hell anybody's thinking anyways, right? Diana Rossini just tweeted out that the Denver Broncos are making an aggressive push to get into the top 10. So that's that makes you wonder what they're thinking about them.
That does. Now, I'll throw another fun scenario out there because the first trade of the day earlier was a bunch of 6-round picks and all that kind of stuff, and everyone shrugged it off. But I started hearing everyone talk about why that was there, and there's a chance that the Browns, if they take Travis Hunter at 2, are going to want to look to trade back up into the first and pair him with his quarterback. If the Steelers really, really are interested in Sanders, that messes with their plans a lot because not only is it a team trying to jump us, it's the Browns, and the Browns might pay a premium to say, look what we did. We got up with the Steelers. And that it's a scenario I hope doesn't happen because it means we went for Sanders. But I can see that happening if it fell that way.
Yeah.
I got to honestly tell you, if the Browns take, the one guy from Colorado and then come back and get Sanders and happen to do it by jumping us, I honestly believe Tomlin and crew will be laughing their butts off in the draft room going, wow, you fell for that? Okay.
It worked, guys. It worked. They thought we were
100% agree.
the whole time.
I love saying that I watched every single Colorado Buffaloes game where they played together. And let me make this perfectly clear. Travis Hunter made Shedeur Sanders better. It was never the other way around.
100%.
Every
100%.
throw that you see Shedeur Sanders make, we're like, wow. Look at the catch instead. Ignore the throw. He puts that in places no one should put it in, and Travis Hunter catches it. So if they really do that, to me, that's the worst thing you could do to Travis Hunter. Don't handcuff him because you know that he's going to turn into a safety blanket for Shedeur. Let Travis Hunter go somewhere where he might actually get to have some fun. So if that does happen, we'll absolutely be laughing.
I also desperately want them to take Travis Hunter and allow him to play both ways. Because that would be the dumbest thing they could do.
Like a 5-year career or something.
Yeah, exactly. Let him go ahead and do it. It's great. Yeah. Go Browns.
Go ahead.
Brian, I am one of the few people on this planet. I said on the last episode, I'm going to keep hammering it. If there's anyone on the face of this earth who can do it for the first time consistently, I truly believe it would be Travis Hunter. I'm not saying he will, but it would not surprise me because he just simply does not take no for an answer. I guarantee at one point Deion's like, nah, we should slow down. He's like, what? No. What's your offense without me?
I think sometimes you have to protect players from themselves. Do you know what I mean? And I think that this is a case of that, where it would not be in his physical best interest in the NFL. It's a different animal than college.
That's really where it comes down to me. Yeah. There's a reason that people don't do it. And it really has more to do with the physicality. Yeah. The physicality that is necessary on both sides of the ball, and the fact that it is a step up from college, right? Yeah. Everybody is as good as you instead of one guy on the other team is as good as you, or two guys.
So off Steelers for a second, do you think Hunter is a better wide receiver or a better cornerback, Brian?
I think he'll have a better career as a corner.
Yeah. Right? I think it's harder to find a really good corner. Like, I just think that's really hard to find.
Honestly, I think he'll play a lot longer. But
I heard Nick Saban on the pregame show surprise everyone by saying that he values Travis Hunter more as a wide receiver because if you score touchdowns to him, that's better than being a defense. And everyone was shocked, and even I was like, "Wow, he said people can change, but a lot of people that ability to put touchdowns on the board, especially they said that with the way that NFL refs are really strict on cornerbacks, if you can't trust Travis Hunter, he's gonna have a lot of fun out there. And I don't know why did Roger Goodell just ride a bike up on stage? This guy's insane.
He's so weird. I don't know. He's so weird.
What is going on?
He is. I don't know. He is so strange.
Odd,
I'm curious. Do you guys have any kind of like dark horse draft predictions for the Steelers? Is there anybody out there that you think like? I mean, I know this is a wonky draft, and we've talked about this, but is there a pick out there for you guys that you think that the Steelers might be considering that you think would be kind of a dark horse at 21?
Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron, a cornerback. There's not the cornerbacks aren't talked a lot about. If they fall, he is the top one in the class. They would love to pair him with Joey Porter Jr. and that might I genuinely think I would be okay with that. A player of that caliber falling. I think, like Brian said earlier, that's one of those guys you're like, well, there goes the board. We have to take him now.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Could be. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I mean, I think, like I said, D-line, running back, and then, defensive backfield somewhere. Like, it's him. I can't remember who the top safety is off the top of my head because I'm terrible with names and I can't pronounce half of them anyway. If one of those guys falls, if one of those premier defensive back type guys falls, and there aren't very many agreed, then sure. If especially because that probably means your D-line guys got picked, your running back guys got picked, right? Other things hit before you hit. Well, if you get left with that option, sure. I mean, they're not going to take a tight end, right? They're not going to draft another tackle, almost certainly. There isn't a first-round guy from interior offensive line that I would think is going to be there. Defensive back.
I got to agree with that. I still just think that's where we're going. I'm struggling to get anywhere else with it. Like, I think that the whole Shedeur Sanders quarterback thing is a smokescreen. I think it's defensive line the whole way, maybe defensive back. I just think that that's what they've got to do, what they've got to build on. Brian, how do you feel about Pittsburgh considering moving back, maybe trying to recoup a second-round pick or an additional pick?
If let's say that Kenneth Grant's gone and Nolan's gone, and O'Marion Hampton's gone. Let's say all those three guys are gone and Derek Harmon is who's left. And you get an offer to move back 5 spaces, 6 spots. You might take it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they really, really want a second round pick back. Right. I think that they will try and get a second round pick. I've been telling people at work and other places, I'm like, there will be mechanizations occurring in the draft room. Maybe they pull something off and maybe they don't, but I guarantee you they're trying. So it wouldn't, to me, it's potentially the best scenario that can happen is move back, get a second round pick or get another pick and still get one of the D-line guys that you wanted anyway.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. To me, the best case scenario is if Sanders is there at 21, we just say, okay, phones are open, quarterback, and just get a king's ransom for it. Because that's the smart move if Shedeur Sanders is there. So the trading back, I don't have a problem with it. I do not have a problem.
We've been on board with the trading back, though, for weeks. Like, this has been Zach's, like, every time we bring up the draft, Zach's like, we're going to trade back. We should trade back. So I'm not surprised at all by that.
Zach, you would have hated my mock draft insanity then, since I trade every pick we have in 2026 to go up to number 2.
Oh my God!
But I can't.
Who did you take?
We don't take anybody because the rules are when I go up there, I can't draft until I get out of the top 10. So I just keep trading back, and then I end up with like 7 number 1 picks next year.
I vaguely remember doing that with you a couple of years ago. That was wild. That was a wild experience. Yeah. So last question, then I'm going to let you guys go so you can watch the real draft. Assuming things go the way we've kind of said we think they will with defense in the first round, What are you hoping to see from the Steelers in rounds 3 through 7? A running back somewhere? What else are you hoping to see? Anybody in those later rounds that you really love?
From my standpoint, I want a running back. If we go D-line first round, I want a running back somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I'm in love with both the guys from Ohio State. There's a couple other guys that I would take. I would like a quarterback. Will Howard is the one I prefer to take, but I don't want to take him until the 4th if he's still there. And I would like to double dip at defensive line. So, to me,
I love the double dip at defensive line.
Yeah,
I really do.
That's what I want to do. Everything beyond the 5th round, I just don't care.
But then it's kind of a crapshoot, whatever you get. Yeah. It really is. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, because normally the 6th or 7th rounds, that's where I'm like, okay, here's where you pick up the, who is this guy wide receiver that might have a shot. This wide receiver class is so weak. I'm surprised that there's even as many as there are. It is genuinely so weak after you pass like the first 3 guys. And after the drop off, the top 2 guys aren't it. They would not be where they are in other drafts. So yeah, Jaden Blue, the running back, I like him a lot. Nick Nash, the wide receiver, I think is out of TCU or so. I forget where he's out of, but he would be good. But it's just filling whatever needs you didn't get in those first 2 picks. Yeah. Because the 1st and 3rd, you should, if one of those 2 isn't a defensive lineman, I don't know what we're doing.
I feel like we got to hit with those 2 picks, because when you don't have a 2nd round pick, you can't afford to screw up one of those 2. It's why I feel so confident we're not going to take a quarterback. Like, we're just not going to reach for a quarterback. I don't see them taking a running back. I mean, maybe if Omarion Hampton is there, do you know what I mean? Like, I think he's feels like more of a guaranteed talent. But oh my God, listening to the fan base after Najee Harris for the past couple of years, I don't want to do another running back in the 1st round, So I feel like we got to do that a little bit later. So I feel like you have to hit with those first 2 picks, and then the rest of it is like gravy if we can get some of those right. Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to go ice my foot and watch some of the drafts. Zach is going to stay here and host his live draft show. But Brian, we really appreciate you coming on with us.
I appreciate you asking me. Yeah, it was fun.
Come back and join us sometime.
Happy to do so. We'll be Steel City Underground. We will do ours later. Tonight, we won't go live, though.
Yeah. Well, let us know. We get it out there for you. We appreciate it.
Very, very much. Yeah, but everyone stick around. This is a personal thing for me. It'll be like the 3rd or 4th straight year I've live streamed the entire 1st round, so I'm going for a streak. So I'll just jump in and out if people feel like it.
All right. You guys have fun. Good night, everyone.
Okay. So that leaves just me and you guys. So right now, if for anyone who's not following, the Titans are on the clock. I'm doing my best not to look at my phone. Anything I'm going to prefer to just kind of be surprised in the moment. So we'll see what's going on. But first of all, let's talk about the Steelers' big board and what it looks like. The most important thing to remember is the Steelers do their board kind of differently than other teams do. What the Steelers do is, instead of the Rams and other teams that kind of flesh the entire thing out and they're looking for the best top 50 or 30 players, what the Steelers do, and what they said specifically during their press conferences pre-draft, is they are setting up the top 21 players for the 2025 Steelers. This is not the best 21 players in the draft. It's not the 21 players by talent or anything like that. It's the top 21 players that have the ability to help the Pittsburgh Steelers get where they need to go. So, and if you see me looking around randomly, it's because I'm not really sure what I did with the remote for the television. But if I can't find it, it's not really the worst thing in the entire world. So the Steelers board at the top for me, it's between Kenneth Grant and Derek Harmon. They're both defensive tackles, but the difference is what kind of position they're going to play. Kenneth Grant is a beast. He's 6'5", he's 331, but Mike Tomlin said during his press conference, and apparently has believed for a little while, that the nose tackle as a position is being phased out. And because that's being phased out, you have to wonder if we're going to spend that kind of a high draft pick on someone that is going to be a more rotational player. Whereas Derek Harmon out of Oregon might be a little smaller. I think he's 6'3", but you get a guy who can play defensive tackle, who can move inside a little bit more, and both could be successors to Cam Hayward. And that's the biggest thing that we're looking at. So if you're jumping out, let people know. The Titans apparently seem to have made their pick. Yet again, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to know until they know. I asked to not put that in the chat while you're watching, so we can all be surprised. But the Steelers are looking at defensive tackle. In my mind, we've heard a lot of talk about Shedeur Sanders. And the plethora of reasons why we shouldn't take a quarterback is insane. So I wanted to kind of have the remote control to do to unmute it at different times, but that's perfectly fine. Roger Goodell's announcing the pick. I'm sure everyone on Twitter already knows what it is. I'm going to do my best to not. Here we go, and there's Cam Ward. Cam Ward is a Tennessee Titan. So what we talked about earlier is the best quarterback and the only possible surefire quarterback was just drafted. That's it. There are no more quote unquote surefire quarterbacks left in this draft. Everyone else has a ton of questions. And so I really hope this works out. I have a feeling this is going to be another pick that doesn't work out for the Titans. Nothing against Cam Ward. It's just I don't think he's the kind of guy that by himself can do what the Titans need him to do. But a lot of people have compared him to Will Levis and that kind of an experiment. I don't think that's fair at all. So let's jump back to what I was talking about before. Let's take a look at these two. We're going to take a look at Derek Harmon first. So there's Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Dude he's big. And now, both of these guys are NFL ready. It's important to know that we're not talking about guys that are going to take a really long time to progress, a really long time to learn. Both Derek Harmon and Kenneth Grant are going to hit the ground running, and what better person to learn from than Cameron Hayward? But this guy, he's smaller, he's leaner, he's more lithe. I like that word specifically when you're talking about Derek Harmon. He is lithe. And in my personal opinion, a lot of the weaknesses with him are nitpicking because the only reason why we would not take one and take the other is because of their positional ability. I personally believe the Steelers have Kenneth Grant higher than they do Derek Harmon on their draft boards. I really hope both are the ones that we take, but let's take a really quick look at Kenneth Grant out of Michigan here. Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, 6'4", he's 331. He is a huge human being, and he's very, very difficult to move. And I like how he anchors. Whenever he decides that he's going to be in a place and he's going to move that offensive lineman out of the way, and that's going to be a way he run stops, and that's going to be a way. Oh, 1 second. The trade happened. I did not see that. So the Jaguars are moving up into the second. The Browns did it. The Browns browned incredibly hard. Oh my God. I cannot believe that just happened. I'm so sorry, Wayne. This is one of those moments I'm very, very confused on why this would happen. Don't get me wrong. You're getting the Browns are getting everything they should for moving up like that. But that means they're not going to get Travis Hunter. So I really hope the Browns did their due diligence. And then on the other side, as a Steelers fan, I genuinely hope they didn't, because this is the best thing that could happen for the Steelers. But if the Browns had the ability to get someone who would cause us a lot of problems twice a season, and now most likely the Jaguars are going to get Travis Hunter. Now, the question is, what if the Jaguars are looking at Abdul Carter? If they are, then it could just throw everything into chaos. But we're gonna get back to the Steelers really, really quick. So you have the Kenneth Grant and you have Derek Harmon. Now, if it's not going to be one of those two, then it could be quite a few other positions. But what I'm looking at is defensive tackle at the moment. Walter Nolan is a player that you take if there's no offers that wow you to trade back. If all the defensive tackles that you're looking at were gone, and that top 21 board that the Steelers have, Nolan's at the top of that. to me, Nolan is easily the lowest out of these three, but there are enough people that have Nolan above Kenneth Grant. So that's how that's going with that. I'm watching just like everybody else is at the moment, trying to figure out why on earth it's not a Falcons taking the quarterback after Nick's after take not Nick, sorry. I really don't know why they did this. It's draft night. So we are waiting at the moment to see, and I'm still trying to figure out I'm sure my cat's knocked over my remote somewhere. I'm just not exactly sure where it is. So Chanel, did you take my remote? I'm not. All right. Trying to see what is going on. Yeah, I still genuinely believe that Abdul Carter is in the running for this, but I would be incredibly surprised if they didn't bring in Travis Hunter. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I mean, Travis Hunter it's literally a generational talent. Baku on Twitter was talking about it earlier, what it would cost to go from a place of being able to take a generational talent to not taking a generational talent, which is exactly what the Browns just did by trading with the Jaguars. Goodness gracious, this is insane. And my stepdad Wayne, yeah, he's literally just came. He is not happy at all, and I kind of went into well, this is kind of the storm I was wondering that was going to happen because of the lack of trade and the lack of movements among the teams leading up to it. That a lot of people were going to be a little more hyperactive and reactive than people normally would be at this point. And I think that's what's happening right now. So I'm still looking. So to do a quick recap, the Browns traded their number 2 overall pick to move back to number 5, and that cost. I know it cost at least. Oh, here it is. The Jaguars received that pick, a 4th round pick, and a 5th round pick this year from the Browns, and the Browns got that 5th overall, a 36th overall this year, the 4th round pick from the Jaguars, and a 1st round pick in 2026. So that's the kind of king's ransom that you're talking about. Look, I'm not seeing who's being picked yet, but there it is. My goodness gracious. Oh goodness. Like I said, as a Steeler fan, it's nothing but positives, but I do genuinely feel for my stepdad right now because what the Browns needed to do is take that literal game changer. I can't say enough good things about Travis Hunter, and I've said many good things about Travis Hunter the entire draft season, and this is genuinely surprising because I can't. The logic here. I understand it was a good. I understand the value that the Browns got back. I really do understand that, but we're talking about uh, a Heisman winner. We're talking about a guy who, even if he didn't play both sides of the ball as consistently as he did in college, to be able to do it, goodness gracious. Okay. Oh, it's very important for me to thank anybody who was watching. The fact that you guys are here instead of the many other places that you can be, even if you're just here for a little bit. Thank you for that. Genuinely, I'm going to be here all the way up until the Steelers pick, regardless of how this goes. And we're gonna see where it goes from here because you guys already know now, and I got it spoiled by looking, which is one thing I was trying to avoid doing. But with a trade like this, I just kind of wanted to know. And Travis Hunter is gone. Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar. That's well, I mean, wow. Trevor Lawrence couldn't have gotten a better weapon. My stepdad is not. He's not happy at all, and yeah, that's a lot. According to Adam Schefter, they are expected to play Travis Hunter on both offense and defense. They said they're going to begin with a heavy dose of wide receiver, and then they're going to work in everything else. So a big part of where Travis Hunter was going to go is a place that would allow him to do what he did at Colorado. But the second overall pick, well deserved. He should have gone second overall. The Browns just browned it. Goodness gracious. But I want to see who they take at number 5. And did the Browns do this to set themselves up better for the quarterback class next year? That's another thing that could definitely be happening. This is okay. So we're gonna get back to the Steelers really quick because 2 picks in and nothing has impacted this, but the Steelers board yet. But we are going to move our magnets here. We have magnet helmets behind me. The Browns go to number 5, and the Jaguars move up to number 2. The Giants are on the board. They're on the clock, and we're gonna. Oh goodness gracious! So the board for the Steelers has been unaffected, and to be quite honest, the Steelers board is going to be unaffected until probably the fifth, fourth, maybe fifth pick. But the chaos is going to happen after this next pick. The Giants are now definitely going to take Abdul Carter. I would be incredibly surprised if it was literally anybody else. But the just because of the fact that it was Travis Hunter makes this what it is, because these kind of trades happen all the time and it's a really good value for the pick. You like all of that. It's just what you don't get now. And I think when we're 5, 6, 7 years past this and we're looking back at what this draft was, the Browns are going to wonder why they did this and why. Excuse me, sir. So Courage is very interested in what's going on there. The Jaguar fans are going nuts here. So of course, what's up? Who do you want the Steelers to take? You're a Shador Sanders fan. That's unexpected. Okay, down you go, bud. Can you find my remote control while you're messing around, bud? So this the Steelers at this point we were talking about what kind of interesting things the Steelers could do. I talked about Jade Barron. We didn't talk about Will Johnson. Will Johnson out of Michigan, another Michigan player I wouldn't mind. Well tested there. But the the fact that I legitimately don't know who's going to be there, and we're only 2 picks in, is it's insane for me. Because we talked about this the entire draft season. We talked about this right before with Brian Roach. We're gonna keep talking about this until the draft is done. That it's just a giant stew of unknowns and a giant stew of questions once you pass that 3rd pick. We're pretty much there. I have no idea what's going to happen. Um, Shador Sanders could be taken in the next 4 picks. He could not be taken till tomorrow. Jackson Dart could be taken. You could see Tedamura McMillan from Arizona go. You could see Matthew Golden go. You could see Aguka go. The amount of different things that could go. And by the way, every single one of those players, if they were picked, to me, should have minimal or no impact on the Steelers draft board. That's just genuinely how I feel about the situation. I'm trying to figure. I know that I had a remote when I sat down, and that I set it somewhere, and I'm not exactly sure where I set it. So that's just kind of confusing. So we got one person here watching. I appreciate the one person watching, considering that there's ESPN. There is multiple live draft shows going on right now. Our old group is doing a live show right now. So the fact that anyone is taking any time out of that to spend it with me, I am incredibly happy with that. It's yeah, I genuinely feel honored by that. So the Steelers, will it be a reach if the Steelers take a quarterback, no matter who that quarterback is? Um, and the answer, I don't want to, I don't know if it is unfortunately, but it is a yes. The Steelers right now should not be thinking quarterback. Um, if that is, and the Giants are celebrating, apparently they know who they're going to pick. Um, Oh, yep, I was correct. Abdul Carter is going to the New York Giants. So there are the three picks that we all knew about. Now let the chaos begin. Because we could see Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, go. We could see Ashton Genty's name hasn't even uh, come up yet. That's a guy who is another game changer right off the bat. With all the talk about Sanders and all that, people kind of forgot that Ashton Genty's still waiting there too. So it's what are you doing, Kat? I'm being attacked by a cat over there. Yeah, if you are joining this, you're going to see a lot of cats. There are quite a few here. Um, Yeah, my stepdad to update everybody about the situation. So the Browns traded away, and then now they with the second pick, and they didn't even get Carter. That was kind of the backup that my stepdad was hoping for. He really really was. Oh goodness gracious, this is I I had a feeling this was going to happen, as I think I brought it up on our pre-draft show yesterday. That the lack of movement by anybody was just it was concerning, because the chaos that happens when no one's moving and you're all at like that four-way stop sign and no one's really sure, one person squeaks ahead and the next person squeaks ahead and the next that's kind of what was going on, and then people were back up and all that. But now that it's here, I really feel like the Browns made a knee-jerk reaction. I think that the Jaguars knew that the Browns would make a knee-jerk reaction. They added more than maybe the Browns were expecting for that. And in the moment, and in the possible hint of doubt that they had about Hunter, they made that decision. And it was not a good decision at all. And now they have missed out on Carter as well. This is crazy. Even everyone up to date on how the situation on the screen affects the Steelers draft board. It still has not. We still have Derek Harmon and Kenneth Grant at the very, very, very top. Um, Omarion Hampton, a lot of people talk about that, and there's two reasons that I don't think that would be a good um pick at number 21. Number one, I don't think the Steelers fan base is ready for another first round running back. I genuinely don't. Najee Harris, the way that whole situation went down, everyone knows how I feel about Najee, of course, but that whole situation soured the fan base over first round running backs, and especially in a draft this deep, you shouldn't have to take a first round running. Um, and O'Marion Hampton, the second reason is, to me, he's just Najee 2.0. So why would you have gotten rid of one to take that? It's a whole thing. Um, so I am fascinated from this point on in the draft. I didn't think there was going to be the big move at number two, but four onward is where I really expect this to go. For everybody just joining us, I really want to thank you for joining the Steel City Huddle Day 1, Round 1 live stream. It's the only one we're going to be doing live. Work, lives, all of that do happen outside of the podcast. But I'm going to be here regardless if there's one person, if there's 10 people, or if it does not matter. I'm going to be here all the way up until the Steelers make their pick. I'll be doing a little bit of a recap after they do make their pick, and then I will be going to bed as well. So I really hope the Steelers don't end up trading back or trading out of the first round just for my sleep schedule. I really don't think that would work well. So to give everybody a really, really quick recap for anybody who just joined, um, around 10:30 p.m. is the estimated time the Steelers are going to pick. We'll pick at 21. Right now, the Broncos are at 20 right before us. If you look right here, we have the fun magnet board. All of these helmets are little magnets. The Patriots are currently on the board. I didn't expect to have to flip the magnets so early on, but that was fun. If you ever have any questions, any comments whatsoever, put whatever you would like about that in the chat. I will get to it. Um, I heard something very interesting. I was listening to 93.7 The Fan, the local Pittsburgh radio station, today, and they mentioned picks that maybe people weren't expecting. And a big one was the possibility of another tight end. being thrown into the mix as a first round unmissable guy. For anybody who doesn't know, Tyler Warren is the first one of those who's considered unmissable out of Penn State. He is everything Kyle Pitts should have been, the tight end out of Atlanta. But it was brought up. I think was it Filipponi? I think it was Filipponi who brought it up. That Colston Loveland out of Michigan, the tight end out of Michigan, is interchangeable with Tyler Warren as far as the need to take him no matter what in that spot. I am not on the radio. I'm not professionally doing what I am doing, but even I know that that's not true. So that is there's so many different views out there about what that dark horse could be. There's people that say Luther Burden it could be a really interesting pick, the wide receiver out of Miz. Well, I genuinely would it would be a head scratcher, and I explained earlier when we were talking with Brian about what picks could be. There we talked about the wide receiver position, and of course that inevitably brought us to the George Pickens thing. That's a big thing to watch throughout tonight. If the movement of George Pickens is going to happen, because um, if the Steelers take up, as we discussed before, if the Steelers do take a wide receiver, you can almost expect George Pickens to go. But like I said, the Cats, that's what you just heard the start of. I'm going to find this remote at some point. It's going to become a running thing of that me looking for this remote, because the television just decided that it was going to freeze up. So I need to find this remote even more now. This is nice and fun. So the Patriots are taking an offensive tackle, which is incredibly smart. The Patriots are full on rebuilding as well. I don't believe they know at all who their quarterback of the future is going to be. So the best thing to do when you don't know who that's going to be is build up the trenches. Is what the Steelers have done the last 2 years, trading up and to get Broderick Jones and then taking Troy Fautanu last year. And the Andy Weidel effect, I genuinely feel is going to continue, and we're going to build up those trenches. So, yet again, nothing that has happened in the draft has any effect on the Steelers draft board so far. We're only 4 picks in. We are only 38 minutes into the night. We have plenty of time to go. At least 2 hours, I think, until the Steelers pick. It seems like all the picks are taking pretty much the full time that they're allowed to, and I imagine that not really knowing what's going to happen as it moves forward means people are going to take their full time anyway. So let's talk a little bit about some other people that the Steelers could take. Matthew Golden out of Texas. If you hear that name, yet again, we know that about what it means for Pickens, but which wide receiver would be better for the Steelers to take if they had to take a wide receiver at 21? And let me be very clear, I do not think the Steelers should take a wide receiver at 21. I feel the Steelers have way too many wide receivers already, considering they have, 4 and we play with 2 most of the time. Derek B on Twitter would know more about this than I do, but the amount of times the Steelers had 4 wide receivers on the field, if it happened enough to really, really get like real statistics about it, it really wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't anything to write home about. The Steelers do not play multiple wide receiver sets. And yet again, you're going to hear noises if you just heard that, and the Cats just do things. I'm amazed they haven't tried to rip down the little set that I built. For a nice, fun recap for anybody who's watched, the Steelers are picking at number 21. If the Steelers do decide to move back because of the second round pick they traded for DK Metcalf, that could also be a possibility. They also pick in round 3 at number 83, round 4 at number 123, round 5 at number 156, round 6 at number 185, and closing out the Steelers Day draft round will be seventh round pick with 229. So that's what you're looking at right now. The Patriots pick. So right now, the Browns are on the board, and I have no idea who the Browns take now to make that pick worthwhile. I genuinely don't. I'm Mason Graham out of Michigan, maybe you take are they going to build up their offensive line? I really don't know what the Browns could do in this situation to make everyone go, oh, well, that makes sense. I see why you did that. I don't think we're going to see that. I genuinely don't. So we're just gonna have to. I really wish that I knew where I put this remote control. So for just a few seconds, everyone is going to have to put up with me looking for this remote control because this is ridiculously infuriating. So I'm just going to be talking while I walk around looking for where on earth I put this. I feel like much older than I should. So where is this remote? Whenever you think that you're gonna do the stupid thing, like actually get down on all fours and start looking while you're on a live stream doing the draft. No, I shouldn't do that. It's gonna look really dumb. And then it gets to a point where you have no other choice but to do that because I'm so convinced right now that my cats had something to do with this. I don't really know how they had something to do with this, but they definitely did. So until that happens, let's take a look at what's going on out there. Um, for anyone who didn't hear before, let's bring up Emmanuel Abuka really quick. Emmanuel Abuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. If we had to take a wide receiver, and to me, that like I've said many times, I don't want to take a wide receiver. We would preferably would be trading back, and then picking a wide receiver because you got maybe a second round pick, back that you gave up. Mbuka is a guy who isn't just a high character pick; he brings character with him. He doesn't just come to work and leave. He wants to do everything he possibly can to make himself and the people around him better. He had to play behind Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and he just bided his time, and he still found himself with a number one round grade. It's Book the kind of guy that if you had to have a wide receiver and you had to have that wide receiver take over in George Pickens' place, that's what you want, genuinely. So I really, really, but this is insane because I specifically tried to find the remote control ahead of time because I knew something was most likely going to happen. And at some point, that got away from me, and I'm really trying to figure out how I lost this thing. Um, right now we are waiting on the Browns to pick and for them to prove what on earth they were doing. Okay, there it is. With the number 5 overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select Mason Graham. Um, that's a really, really weird. What that says to me is, and I'm gonna try and bring some clarity to this from my perspective of why the Browns did this, and I might just be making shit up. I don't know. But it seems to me when the Browns look at Travis Hunter, maybe it didn't have as much to do with whether that was a true generational talent. I'm gonna keep talking while I stop my cats from wrecking something. It wasn't about him being a true generational talent. It was about whether one generational talent was enough to turn around your team in the way that you wanted to, or whether getting the kind of haul they did, getting a really solid player like Mason Graham to be the middle of your defensive line and to maybe take some pressure off of Myles Garrett, that I can see that happening, and it would be a much more realistic, far like a long game kind of thing than the Browns normally do. The Browns normally just kind of swing for the fences, and that was this is a very tame, and I don't want to say safe because they just traded the second round pick and didn't get Travis Hunter, but it was kind of safe. It was saying that we're not going to go all in on this one player to turn around our franchise. We know next year is a better quarterback class and building up the kind of draft haul that we can bring to that while getting Mason Graham is something that we can't pass up. That is the only sanity I can bring to that, because in my mind, it's still such a big risk to pass up. A guy like Travis Hunter, it just is. So still to this point, nothing at all has been done to mess with the Steelers' draft plans. We still Mason Graham was always outside of the Steelers' reach, as he should be when the Steelers are picking at 21. Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon still the top two. Walter Nolan after that. But if Walter Nolan is the only choice at 21, I would suggest the Steelers trade back, and then you can still get Walter Nolan at a pick or two, and then you can bring some other hauls. I'm really trying to figure out what. So apparently, the Browns had the option to trade out of number 5 to keep going back, but they decided that they were going to take Mason Graham. Which is smart. That means that what that says to me is that it wasn't as knee jerk as it initially seemed. So that at least it seems like there was some thought and some we are actually rebuilding kind of thing. I'm glad they didn't take Ashton Genty, because that would have been a slap in the face to Nick Chubb. This was I'm not saying, oh, I really get. I'm saying I can kind of maybe see a universe in understanding why they did this. So it's just incredibly surprising, because you missed out on Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter and Mason Graham. Take nothing away from who he is as a player, but it really seems like I guess I'm just not used to seeing this much control and patience from the Browns organization. And that's why it seems, or actually at the top of the draft in general. So I guess that's why it seems really insane. And it's Travis Hunter. If it wasn't Travis Hunter, I don't think any of us would be reacting the way we are. So that goodness. So just so everyone can keep up to date, the Las Glenn, that shows I just dated myself. The Las Vegas Raiders are on the board. After that will be the New York Jets, the Carolina Panthers, and then the very first pick that could possibly start defining which direction the Steelers are going to go. Because if at number 9 the New Orleans Saints take Shador Sanders or take Jackson Dart, that could start a run on quarterbacks that could be fun. That's what I'm looking for, is where is that run going to happen? Is it going to be the edge rushers? There are a ton of edge rushers in this group outside of Abdul Carter. We have Michael Williams, we have Mike Green, we have Shamar Stewart, we have James Pierce Jr. There are plenty of guys, and there could be a rush where suddenly needy teams in that sense, and the Steelers are not a needy team at all when it comes to edge. So every single pick that is an edge pushes someone down closer to us. So now I've been sitting for a second, so I'm going to yet again try and oh, there it is. The Las Vegas Raiders take Ashton Genty. That is not at all surprising. Ashton Genty is one of the only players. Probably, I will say it. He was the last. No, Tyler Warren's still there. He was the second to last game-changing player left on the board. It was Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and then Ashton Genty were the 4 that people were talking about were the NFL stars. Warren was put into that mix every once in a while, but not as consistently as the other 4 were. So that all these picks, other than the Cleveland situation, just kind of reversed, because Mason Graham was going to go in the top 5, maybe top 6 anyway. So it didn't really change the players that were taken. It just changed how 2 franchises went and what direction they did. Because the Jaguars saw the generational talent of Travis Hunter and said he's worth giving up next year and this year, because a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick, a 1st round pick this year, and the 1st round pick next year is what the Jaguars gave up. And those are all high value. And Ashton Jeanty was one of those players I was secretly hoping um, would somehow fall. Um, because whenever I talk about Ashton Jeanty, and people are like, well, I don't understand why you would want a running back in the first round if you're so afraid of running backs in the first round in general. You're talking about a Marion Hampton. It's because when you talk about Jeanty, you're talking about possibly bringing another Le'Veon Bell into the scene. And not a banged up Le'Veon Bell who couldn't find a way to stay on the field, but a young Le'Veon Bell who is really ready to hit the ground running. And I, I'm sure he just breathed the biggest sigh of relief. So the Raiders just picked. That means we have the New York Jets up next. Justin Fields as their new quarterback. Are they going to stick with him? Who are we going to see picked? Is this where Tyler Warren goes? Because this could be a great spot for Tyler Warren to go. I think it could be a fun offense for him to be in, and that would be a nice breath of fresh air for Justin. Justin Fields deserves that. We did him dirty. So okay, so we are almost 1 hour into draft night, which means we're going to do a fun thing every hour, 45 minutes, or really whenever I decide to look at it. If you're watching, we're going to be changing jerseys. So we started out with Najee, which was this. So we're going to be switching that. And let's see. Oh, there we go. That's an easy choice. Considering I'm hoping for the D's. So there we go. Okay. So now that I have the jersey on, wrapping the defense, hoping that brings something to it. We're going to yet again continue our search to try and figure out where on earth the remote went. Because I set up this nice little kind of draft area and brought a TV down from upstairs. And part of that was bringing the remote down, which I know I did. So it's one of those things where I'm really trying to figure out how I misplaced this thing. And whenever I do figure out where it is, I'm probably going to laugh because of how close I was to actually finding it multiple times. And it wouldn't normally matter. I would just continue onwards, but the problem is the TV froze. So I am trying to do both, and we're so we're gonna guess take a break from the remote control search again, and in a couple minutes we'll just pick that up. If anybody wants to play Find the Remote and you want to look around to see if you can see it, that'd be impressive. Because I have no idea where I put that thing. And originally I was convinced the cats had moved it, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I probably would have found it by now. So I just no idea where that thing is. Um, so we got the Jets on the board yet again. Reminder: nothing has happened that has affected the Steelers board whatsoever. Do you still have Derek Harmon and you still have Kenneth Grant as the two top ones? Really quick recap: the main difference between those two is that Kenneth Grant can be seen as a more of a nose tackle, whereas Harmon is seen as more of a versatile defensive lineman. That's the difference between the two, and that's why if Harmon goes over Grant, it wouldn't. They're not interchangeable. I genuinely don't believe that any NFL players are interchangeable with someone else. There's always a reason, whether it's direct or not, and that's the biggest reason between the two. So this is going to drive me crazy. I am sure 100% sure that I brought this remote and I was setting things up, and then all of a sudden the remote is missing. So that meant at some point between me setting it up and everything going, I may have turned the TV on. So on the Jets, quick recap if anybody. Here you are watching the Steel City Huddle round one live stream. I take pride that this is pretty sure my fourth straight year where I'm going to be live the entire first round. There is a slight chance. The YouTube rules are a little weird, but there's a slight chance around the 2 hour mark we might have to reconnect. Not really sure about that. We'll see. But the Steelers aren't going to be picking until number 21. That is around 10:30 p.m. That's still what we're on track for right now. So if you are coming in late to this, let's take a quick look at what's going on. Oh, hey, Relic, what's going on? Relic, I am going to do everything I can to make us take someone good. And I feel like the good to me is boring to a lot of other people. The good to me is Derek Harmon. The good to me is Kenneth Grant. The good to me is Walter Nolan. If you really need to, take a defensive lineman at that point. But I really, really hope that we don't take Shador Sanders. Like genuinely don't. I'm sad too that Ashton Genty is gone. I genuinely hoped above all hope that Ashton Genty was going to be someone who somehow magically slipped to us, and we were going to get the second coming of Le'Veon Bell. That is unfortunately not the case. Um, for everyone who was here, for Relic, for people who've been watching from the beginning, if you're going to jump in later, thank you so much. There are so many different places that you could be watching this draft now. Instead, you choose to be in here in my little draft area with me, despite the fact I cannot find the remote control to this television. So it is currently frozen on Travis Hunter dancing. Um, there we go. So the Jets. Oh, the Jets picked Armand Membo. Very nice. Okay, so another pick that does not affect the Steelers. The more picks that do not affect the Steelers, the better. That's how I'm seeing this. So we're going now that the Jets have picked. The Carolina Panthers are up next. Number 9 is a big pick to watch. If you don't know why, let's explain. The New Orleans Saints are at number 9. Everything seemed fine, and then to me, it seemed out of nowhere. Reports came out that Derek Carr had a shoulder injury, and then it was worse. And then the shoulder injury could possibly, cause him to not be playing at all. And if all that happens, and that's actually true, the Saints all of a sudden became a team that was looking at a quarterback. And there was a possibility there could be a trade for the draft. That obviously didn't happen. That is where Shador Sanders could go. That is the big place that Shador Sanders would go, and that would take so much pressure off of me, off of the Steelers, all that for just don't make the Steelers make that decision. Don't make them, wonder if they should actually take Shador Sanders. I am going to be spending another few seconds trying to figure out where on earth this remote went. So I am so sure that I had it. So. And the thing is, if this was just me, then this was just this moment, then that would be one thing. But I do this with the remote at least 5 or 6 times anyway. So you'd think that I would have been prepared for something like this to happen, but instead, or like, wrapped something around it so I'd easily be able to see it. But no, nope, nothing like that. So with the Jets taking an offensive lineman, Armand Mambao out of Missouri, we are going to see where Tyler Warren goes, because that's my thing. I really want to see where Tyler Warren goes. Um, Tyler Warren is one of those people who, if he drops, then that could be not an Ashton Genty kind of situation, because I think Ashton Genty is better than Tyler Warren in many different capacities. I don't know how you pass that up. I think it was a while back, way back at the beginning of mock draft season. A lot of the drafts I was seeing had Tyler Warren falling right around the place where it wouldn't be insane to think the Steelers might pick him. Um, Now I really don't know. There hasn't been too much insanity outside of the Cleveland Browns trade. And even then, like I said, it didn't change the players that were picked. It just kind of changed the order. And it showed me a little bit about that Cleveland franchise that I don't like, because right off the bat, as everyone saw, my knee-jerk reaction was absolute confusion, perplexion, the frustration that I felt from my stepdad, because he was really hoping to get the Travis Hunter kind of player, and then realizing that we didn't have to play Travis Hunter twice a year like we would have if the Browns got him. But then taking a step back from that even more and seeing what the Browns got and the longer vision that they have, that that all was really interesting. So we're gonna just a really, really quick moment. The draft is going on, but two things from my family. I want to wish my sister Aaliyah a very, very happy birthday before the birthday is officially over. Number two, a big shout out to my brother Lakota, who is currently at a awards banquet. Just played his senior year of high school, and he committed to a college. So I'm very proud of him. Let's see what's going on. The Panthers, and there it goes. First wide receiver is officially off the board. Tetaroa McMillan out of Arizona. This is what a lot of people said, that he could have been anywhere in the top 10 all the way down to the 20s. And I guess wide receiver is a highly prized commodity, more than I thought. So he's going. There you go. The Panthers bring in someone for Bryce Young to throw to, because Deontay Johnson definitely didn't work out. See, I like that I got to get a shot on Deontay Johnson no matter what. So we have Tetaroa McMillan, who's gone, which to me leaves two viable wide receivers if you decide to go in the first round. You got Buka and you have Golden. So it really just depends on if the Steelers are going to trade George Pickens, because I know we keep bringing it up, and a lot of people, I feel, they're shrugging it off a little too much, to the point where if it did happen, then the Steelers fan base might implode a little bit. Um, we'll see when it gets to that. So there it is. We are where I am fascinated to see, because we are at number 9. I don't know what's going to happen here. I really don't. I Goodness gracious. Because if they don't take Shador Sanders, then the guy's going to most likely go into a free fall. And the free fall is what, and for anybody wondering, if you're late to this, I'm looking for the remote control on my television that I am 100% convinced my cat somehow found a way to hide from me. I don't know how, but I genuinely believe they did. Oh. Because I had my TV on and I had all the stuff going, and then the TV froze. So just in case anybody's jumping on late, if anybody is jumping on late, I like to thank anybody and everybody who's watching. Like I said, you could be watching so many different places, and even if it's one person, if it's two people, if it's three, whatever, you're watching with me, and it's me, and I really, really appreciate that. So we have had one big change up. We have had the Jaguars move up to 2 and the Browns move down to 5. Other than that, everyone is kept where they are. The Steelers are still picking at 21. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the Steelers are estimated to be picking. Right now, the New Orleans Saints are on the board at number 9. This is the first quarterback could go off the board right here. A lot of people, I believe that this could be where the first quarterback could go. I want chaos right now. Because I genuinely, the more chaos that happens between here and the Steelers pick, the better the Steelers pick could be. So let's bring a little bit of chaos to this. And I apologize to if anyone's watching and you don't want to have it spoiled ahead of time. Just let me know. I genuinely do not mind. The only reason I'm looking at this way, I was just going to go old school and watch on the television. Saying television instead of TV is no proof of that, but I have no other choice to keep up other than my phone right now. So if any of the cats in the room know where I put the remote control, I would really appreciate it if you let me know. That would be wonderful. So we have the Saints on the board, and I'm still waiting to find out if the Saints are going to be the one that kicks off this quarterback thing. I don't know if they're going to. For anybody joining, I know if the disembodied voice is a little weird. Just currently trying to figure out what on earth I did with the remote control to my television. So I do not know how it's possible that I lost the remote control to my TV, considering I've been in just this room. But I guess I'm gonna figure that out hopefully before the end of the evening. So just very, very strange. So we have the Saints on the board yet again. Nothing has happened that has affected the Steelers draft board. Nothing at all. The Steelers board is the exact same now as it is, and it will stay that way. It is just me in here right now, which I genuinely do not mind. For those watching afterwards, I appreciate you deciding to check in afterwards and seeing what draft day was like in Steel City Huddle. I hope Leanne is getting all of the rest after her foot surgery. I want to thank Brian Roach for being with us earlier and giving us wonderful insight into different things from his Steel City Underground podcast. And the Saints are taking Texas offensive lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. at number 9. It is not a quarterback. That the interesting thing about the draft is exactly moments like this. Not as much the don't get me wrong, the trade that took the Jaguars to number 2, that's big as well. But moments like this where everyone's geared up for number 9, the Saints are going to take a quarterback. That's where Shedeur Sanders is going. And what do? They take Kelvin Banks Jr. and they just shore up their line. So the quarterback thing is still in play for Pittsburgh, and I was really hoping it wouldn't be. So that's yeah. So again, it means for another what 12 picks, we still have to all hold our breath and wonder if for some reason we're going to take a swing at a quarterback. So I'm really trying to figure out what I did with this thing. So let's talk about the defensive tackles that might not be on everyone's mind. To me, number 1 is Walter Nolan. I think he's the 3rd best tackle that could be taken in the 1st round. But there's also the dude out of Toledo, Darius Alexander. If the Steelers do not take a defensive tackle in this 1st round, defensive tackle absolutely has to be on their radar. And I think a 3rd round pick is much too late to get someone like Darius Alexander. They would probably have to trade back up into the 2nd round to get him, or trade back deeper into the 2nd round and then pick up someone like Alexander. But that defensive tackle, it's the number 1 need to me. I know that people are putting quarterback up there. There's more than people than I expected on the trade the George Pickens train. I know my plenty of people on Twitter aren't that I see, and but the George Pickens situation I think needs to be kept at this draft for the moment. I think the Steelers just kind of need to focus on doing the Andy Weidel thing. And what do I mean by Andy Weidel thing? The assistant manager, Andy Weidel, came over from Philadelphia, and he brings this wonderful, gritty scheme of how to build a team, and that's from the trenches outward. And what did we do the last 2 years? Traded up for Broderick Jones with Troy Fautanu. Lot of investment, high value capital put into that offensive line. Now we're ready for phase 2. Now let's move into the defensive tackles, into the defensive trenches, and build that up. Because I'm going to say it again. I said it earlier, a number that no one wants to hear again, and the number is 299. That's the amount of rushing yards that the Ravens had against the Steelers in the playoff game. And if that number alone doesn't make you want a defensive tackle, I really don't know what to tell you about AFC North football. They've been compared to Holy Nada. If anybody remember, hey, oh, my mother joined. Wonderful. Hey, we're up to 3 people. Oh yes. So I'm gonna put Relic's comment up here. This is what I was worried about right here. When the Saints did not take a quarterback at 9, that meant that we were going to be talking about whether they were going to be the Steelers are going to take a quarterback. And yeah, see, this is what I thought. You open Twitter, it's all over the place. And look, I need to be very, very clear. I would absolutely prefer Shedeur Sanders over Aaron Rodgers, but I would prefer neither. The right answer is Will Howard. Brian Roach said it earlier. He was a guest on the podcast. Will Howard in a later round out of Ohio State would be great. We're not a quarterback away. We're not in a win now situation. We can't be looking at guys like Shedeur Sanders and saying that's the guy that we have to take. I really don't understand that. Quick shout out to my mother. Hi, Mom. Yet again, thank you so much for jumping and for joining us. It doesn't matter if you stay for 1 minute, 5 minutes, if you're hanging out the whole night, which would be insane, but also if you decided to spend the entire night here with me. Thank you. There's so many other options for people to watch, and instead you're here with me watching a guy in a TJ watch jersey trying to figure out where on earth his cat put the remote control to his television. That's going to be what everyone's talking about. Uh, the offensive line has gotten more love than I thought it was going to at the top of this draft, and I, someone who loves the trenches, am very happy about that. This is at the back of my mind with every single thing I say. It's like this glaring thing. Where did the cats for the remote? Okay, so the Steelers draft board still absolutely untouched. Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, still both at the top. Right now, we have the Chicago Bears on the board. Someone I have heard linked to them is Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. Apparently, the Bears really like him. They want to bring someone in to help that secondary. If not Starks, then Nick Amanwari out of South Carolina, the safety. That is a big safety. He is 6'3". That could also be there. Um, Safety is one of those sneaky things where there could be a run if too many people see it happening. So remember, we still got edge and safety where there could be runs on. Aston Genty being taken means I don't expect a run on running backs. Right, anyway. But you never know with something like that. So I'm waiting for the first pick to really throw a wrench into the Steelers' plan. The lack of the Shador Sanders pick may have done that a bit, but I'm genuinely hoping all of that was just a smokescreen. That when we get there, if Shador Sanders is there at 21, the Steelers are smart about it. You trade back, even if it's just one or two picks, pick something back up, because I don't know if I can handle the explosion of insanity that will happen to the Steelers fan base if we take not just another quarterback in the first round, but Shador Sanders. It's yeah, goodness gracious. It's going to be interesting if nothing else. So we're going to be seeing how this is going to go. The Steelers are going to be most likely picking at about an hour and 15 minutes estimate. We are right now sitting at the 10th pick. We pick at number 21. The Bears are on the clock. I have yet to see if the Bears have selected someone. Um, Not yet. Well, there's a trade. There was a trade. Oh, wait, no. Did I miss one? See, this is the problem with not having a TV. So the 49ers actually took the safety that I was talking about. The 49ers took Macau no no Edge Macau Williams. I really need to get this TV thing fixed. So this is all over the place. Goodness gracious. Okay. So we are now at number 12. I'm getting myself all caught up here because half of my brain is still telling me to look for all of that. So okay, so things are all behind all over the place. So if anybody can recommend the Bears pick is in. I love that I'm getting updated from the chat. I really appreciate that, considering I'm desperately trying to figure out the right one because the NFL app is incredibly behind on everything. Um, so do not believe anything about the JTLA rumor thing that you see on Twitter because apparently they're already going and saying that the 49ers have picked and the Bears haven't even made their selection yet. So the Bears are currently on the clock at pick number 10. We're just waiting to see what's going on with that. So yeah, I can't see any of this, any of the next maybe three picks, even four, affecting the Steelers. We can kind of sit back and just watch and wait and hope that it's not Shador Sanders. I'm seeing some rumors that yeah, yo, that okay. The craziest thing just after the Bears are taking Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, despite the fact that Tyler Warren was almost unanimously seen as the best tight end in the entire class. That's insane. I don't. Okay. So the three people paying attention to that's crazy. So Tyler Warren, despite most people having him ranked in the top 5, top 6, top 7 on their boards, and that's every single position and every single player, despite all of that, you still have Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end, being taken. What does that say about Tyler Warren? What do people know about Tyler Warren that we don't know? That 'cause that's a big swing. So the Bears get a really, really good tight end. Tony today on the 93.7 said that he sees Loveland and Warren as interchangeable. Maybe he knew something that we didn't because I was incredibly surprised by that. Um, so the Bears have selected the 49ers are on the board at number 11, and there's no. This is one of the softer surprises. I don't know if it's because of the tight ender or because he doesn't really affect the Steelers draft board anyway, but this is just in this is crazy. I there we go. We got Relic helping us out there. They have that. I don't. Yet again, what do you know about Tyler Warren that we don't know? That's what I because to me Tyler Warren was the unequivocal pick. He was one of those guys who if he was there, you throw most of your board out the window and you say, "Well, this guy's here, we have to take him." And that seemed to be not just off base, but incredibly off base considering. So we're going to now that the pick is in, take just a minute. And you know what that means? It means we're yet again going to be searching for the remote. If you hear a shear, it means that I found it. I literally have no idea where to even start this search. So I legitimately thought that the remote was sitting next to me, which it is not apparently. So I am going to figure this out somehow. All right. So, quick recap for anybody who is just jumping in with us. The 49ers are on the board, and the 49ers pick is in, according to Relic, who is our in house draft guru at the moment, helping us out with all of the awesome chat stuff. There is a rumor, I saw it going around on more than one Twitter thing that an edge rusher that Michael Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia, is going to go to the 49ers. Interestingly enough, like before the pick was in for the Bears, I saw people tweeting about the 49ers pick. So I have no idea how far ahead some people know, but that seemed a little insane to me. Um, the now a lot of people are talking about the Shador Sanders falling down the board. Let's make this very clear. Shador Sanders would have gone 9th overall to the Saints. That would have been to me more of a quarterback desperation move than a Shador Sanders deserves to go 9th overall. There's a very big difference between that. So I don't believe Shador Sanders is falling. One if the Steelers don't take him, that to me is where the fall starts. It's not an Aaron Rodgers situation. Do not compare it to that. This is not a oh my goodness, he was supposed to go. 9th was the chance. It was a possibility there. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah, there we go. Giving Relic all the love. I like that. It's important. So take a sip. I'm a crazy man. I really am. I got my Earl Grey tea here to get me through the night. Oh, lovely. Well, not sponsored or at all, but Vita coconut water. If you want to sponsor, could work. It'll be fun. We got the 49ers still on the clock, still waiting to see what's going on with that. As I said, I heard Macau. Williams is going to be taken. If he does that's a hell of an edge rusher. 6'5", 260. Dude is fast and scary fast. We're talking Nick Herbig fast on a 6'5" body. That is terrifying to me. Oh, I don't have cable. I think it's through like my Xfinity thing. I get it. Not really sure. So the streaming thing, I appreciate it regardless though, because sometimes in the middle of it, especially when you're, also trying to figure out why your cats are sabotaging you, to keep up with all of that. So still waiting to see what the 49ers are doing. Nothing has affected the Steelers yet. I think the Steelers at this point should be just the Steelers should be bored. If I was the Steelers front office right now, nothing is happening whatsoever that should make you scramble. The Steelers might be fielding picks, like calls for Pickens or something like that, but I have a feeling it's fairly quiet, and that's the way they prefer it right now. That's the way I'd prefer it if I was in the front office, at least. But I prefer most things quiet if I did. So we're still waiting to see who the 49ers do pick at number 11. The Steelers pick at number 21. That should be in just a little over about an hour and 9 minutes away. The estimated time right now for the Steelers pick is for that. My cat just failed at running up the stairs. Not really sure how to manage that. About 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Steelers are estimated to pick. Right now, it seems like everyone's using most of their time, so I imagine that would be a good estimate. Um, I think the fact that no one really knows what's going to happen, that's making people use all of this time because there's actual thought and consideration going to every single one, and most of these teams might be willing to move back if it because just of the kind of hodgepodge of different things that are going on. So we got Relic jumping in there. If I'm the Steelers, I'm trading either a player or a pick to get more picks. To be honest, TJ Pickens like someone to get a two. Okay. Okay. I'll say this. If you're trading TJ, then that better be one of those. I think the Steelers did say if they were even for Pickens. So I know TJ's off the table. The Steelers are not even considering that. But they did say that for Pickens, they aren't looking to trade him. A offer would have to come in that would make them make the move. It would have to be that good. So you're not talking about an okay selection of things. You're talking about something on the same lines if for this version of a trade is what the Browns just got. You need to do something where Mike Tomlin says, guys, we can't we have to take that. You know, we'd be stupid not to take something like that. That's what it would have to be. So we're still waiting. I'm pretty sure we're still waiting to see what's going on here. And a lot of people are saying the same thing that because of what happened at and there it is, number 11 is in fact Mikael Williams, the edge out of Georgia, another pick that has nothing to do with the Steelers board. So really helping the Steelers out a little bit because I said it before in our pre-draft show, and I'll say it again. I feel like the Steelers knew what they were going to do a couple months ago, that they've known what they were going to do this entire process, and that they aren't going to know what they're going to do all the way up until the pick, and it's going to be Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant. Those are, I'm still saying it over and over. If those two aren't available, and if Walter Nolan isn't as high on their draft board as he is on mine, then I can see them moving back. So if it's TJ, it would be. Oh, here we go. So we got Relic giving us some different examples. If the Steelers do trade TJ, nobody freak out. We're not saying they're going to trade TJ. We're saying if they did, would be a first this year, a second this year, a first next year, a second next year, a third next year, and a fifth next year with a chance to go to a fourth. That is the kind of a trade that would make you stop and look. I do have to say that if there was a team who looked at TJ and said that yep, I would take it. Absolutely. I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, I understand I'm wearing a TJ jersey, so it sounds weird to say this, but I don't think any team would ever give that up for TJ. I don't. I don't think that has anything to do with who TJ Watt is. I just don't think at this point anyone's going to do that, considering that there's plenty of edge rushers in this particular draft. They did want to do that. But I gotta say, Relic, if you had to put together a draft, a trade package that made me even for a split second go, wait a second, you did it, and I wasn't expecting that. So goodness gracious, the mixture of the draft haul this year and the fact that we're picking up capital next year is what it would have to be because right now other teams rely on their quarterback to be the best player on their team and be the reason they win or lose. Let's be quite honest. For us right now, it's TJ. So you're trading away the quarterback of your team, and that's the kind of haul you want for a quarterback. So the 49ers picked, which means we have Dallas Cowboys. After the Cowboys, you have the Dolphins at 13. You have the Colts at 14. You have the Falcons at 15. Cardinals at 16. Bengals at 17. Seahawks at 18. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19. The Broncos, which is where Omer and Hampton could go, or someone could trade up to jump in front of us. Then you have us at 21. Still talking about the TJ thing. Oh, and you have another offensive lineman. We're going to get back to the TJ thing in 1 second. Another offensive lineman yet again. I am so happy that we invested in the offensive line, as we didn't have a lot of people say, well, that hasn't worked out the way you expected. I'm choosing to be positive and believing it's going to work out because of what we put in. But seeing all these teams pick offensive linemen near the top of the draft, number one, I love the trenches, so I love the attention given to it. But it just frees up more people to drop to us that we can pick. Okay, so really quick, we were not entertaining or anything like that, but just discussing what it would look like if there was a TJ trade. Relic put up this wonderful trade package, which got me to actually stop for a second and look at it. And then we were talking about that, and he said, "Don't get me wrong, I love TJ. I have his color rush jersey. He's my favorite player, but we have peaked with him. We haven't done anything with him in the postseason. I'm sorry, it's the truth. 100% right." And that's not saying anything about TJ. In fact, if you look at most of the earlier playoff games that TJ did, and especially in the Chiefs game, TJ was a reason that we even had a chance as long as we did. But we haven't won a playoff game with TJ, a single one. We've barely been in any. So at some point, you have to wonder if holding on to him is, yeah, you have to wonder. I don't think we're at that point. But I definitely understand what you're talking about, Relic. 100% on that. So we have the Dallas Cowboys have picked, so the Dolphins are on the board. And we have quite a few Dolphin fans in my family, so this is another family pick. We're going to see what's going on. 13 is one of those weird picks where you're not going to get that generational player, but you could certainly get somebody solid. So the Dolphins right now, it could be another edge rusher, and I think it should be. Or they did lose Christian Wilkins. This could be the place where we see the first possible dent in the Steelers' draft plans if a defensive tackle does go here. If you have Derek Harmon going here, if you have Kenneth Grant going here, that could throw things off. And I would get to go a little ballistic in the family chat, considering that it would have been a family team that took him. So we're going to see what's going on. And it's that wonderful moment where we're going to take another second, and I'm going to see if I can figure out where this remote control went. So the more I search for it, the more I'm feeling insane, because I know it has to be somewhere. And the fact that it is nowhere is just beyond insane. So it's actually going to be off the screen for just a second. He goes, checks all the places it could be. So the 12th overall pick is Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman out of Alabama. The question is, at the next pick, is the Dolphins going to be the team that throw that wrench into the Steelers' plan? I don't know. I genuinely don't think that the Steelers are going to get messed with just yet. But it's, other than that 9th pick with the Saints, I'm a little nervous about this one, because I know how secure I feel about those picks. I know how comfortable I am knowing that we would have a Kenneth Grant, or would have a Derek Harmon, or would have our Walter Nolan on our team. And I don't want us to be forced into making a pick that we don't want. For example, if, let's say, the Dolphins took Harmon, and then the Colts were like, wait a second, that's another defensive tackle off the board, and they take Walter Nolan, and then it goes, and the Falcons are like, oh, wait a second, we have to, and that defensive tackle run starts. All of a sudden, you get to 21. You got Shedeur Sanders sitting there. You don't have any of the defensive tackles that you wanted. That's the moments where those reaches start to seem like they make sense, and they actually don't. So we are still waiting. We got the Dolphins picking at number 13. Quick recap: if you're just joining us, you are watching the Steel City Huddle round 1 NFL draft live stream. It's the only live stream we're doing. This is the fourth straight year I've been doing live streams on day one. I tried to do all 3 days once, did not go over well. Physically, that's an incredibly demanding thing. If anybody's thinking about that, make sure you're well hydrated while you're doing that. Speaking of which, if you're watching and you haven't hydrated in a second, quickly hydrate. Okay. Now that we have hydrated, pause for the cause here. All right, so the Dolphins at number 13. If the Dolphins don't take a defensive tackle, then another offensive lineman might be possible, especially with the guys that went. And we could be seeing what is, I guess, a run on offensive lineman. Maybe the reason I'm not noticing it as much is because it doesn't affect the Steelers, so I'm just kind of not shrugging it off. But it's not going to affect us, so it's okay. Let's see what's going on with the world out there. Nothing, still nothing yet. So nothing with. That's crazy. So nothing with the Dolphins yet. Dolphins are on the clock still, number 13. Indianapolis Colts will be up next at 14, and then we'll be only 7 picks away. So it's getting closer. I was listening to DK today, DK Pittsburgh Sports, and he was talking about when you get within like 3 or 4 picks of the Steelers picking, you get that surreal thing where like it's gonna happen. Like it's actually going to happen. The questions will be answered. All the guessing will be out of it. People who've spent literally the entire year from the moment the Steelers picked last year to now preparing for that moment. It's a culmination of so much. I'm excited about that. But I just felt the first peak of it where I said out loud how close we were to the Steelers pick. And this Miami Dolphins pick is the Dolphins. Oh, okay. Here we go. That's the first one. That's a kick in the teeth. That is one of the number one players I had the Steelers taking. That's genuinely disappointing. I'm glad I kind of prepared myself for it, but even then. So let's talk about the Kenneth Grant pick by the Dolphins and what that means for the Steelers, because not just does it impact it, it really impacts it. Kenneth Grant to me is one of the guys that was really up there, but why could it not be that big of a thing for the Steelers? Kenneth Grant is a bigger guy, and he tends to play nose tackle. Mike Tomlin believes and has said in his press conference and before that, he believes nose tackle is a quickly becoming a non-existent thing. It's the dinosaur of it, kind of like the fullback he compared it to. So if they were looking between guys like Nolan and Harmon and guys like Kenneth Grant, and the difference between Nolan and Harmon and Grant is that Grant was primarily a nose tackler, he would be more of that. Maybe this kind of a thing is not a wrench. It's unexpected. For this step, I genuinely thought Kenneth Grant would get to us. But there are still at least 2 that I'm very comfortable with. It's just what the Colts do now. And don't get me wrong, this is a really smart move by the Dolphins. It's Kenneth Grant is a game-changing defensive tackle, and when I say game-changing, it's different than when you're talking about Travis Hunter or Austin Genty. This is kind of a game-changing where he's just going to swallow you up. That's what he's going to do, and it's kind of what I was hoping I would get, kind of a Casey Hampton kind of thing. I miss that. I really do. So we are at number 14 now. We're only 7 picks away. The Steelers probably going to pick around 10:30. Is what we're guessing right now. So, well, I guess that actually answered my question for me, because I was curious on whether there was going to be a 2-hour limit for the stream, and apparently there isn't. I don't know. I saw somewhere there might be, but there's not. So, oh, and my wife just let me know that Tyler Warren was officially selected. That is, wow. Okay, I'm not upset about that at all. Tyler Warren. I thought he should have gone before Loveland, but the fact they didn't is fine. So, the Colts are going to be taking. Interesting. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And yet again, it's another thing that does not impact it. But the rage I felt when Kenneth Grant was picked. Um. Ah. Okay, so things are moving. The draft is moving a little faster now. I think teams are starting to kind of figure out where their boards are falling. The Colts just took Tyler Warren. I think that was probably the easiest thing. You did see it. No, I'm not even kidding. Like I had to rein myself in there because it like really I did not enjoy that moment at all. Um, because a lot of people had Derek Harmon above Kenneth Grant on their boards, and I had Kenneth Grant above Derek Harmon. So to me, the number one person on the Steelers board was just taken. So that was that reaction. Um, the unrealistic guys, the Genties and the Warrens that might have fallen, I wasn't really taking that seriously. Kenneth Grant was someone who that was a realistic, serious pick. That, but the thing is, there are others out there that could still fill that role. What Courage is trying to throw hands at people. Apparently, stop it, bud. So, Courage, what do you think is going on right now? What do you think the Steelers are thinking? You still think Shedeur Sanders isn't playing? You said that earlier, and I don't understand why you're on the Shedeur Sanders train. You didn't even watch any Colorado games. You slept through most of them. So yeah, we have to say it, even though I don't want to. Because of what the Saints did at 9, which is be practical, and not take Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. The Falcons are about to pick at number 15. We are right here. The Steelers are here. It's so close. It really is, and so much could happen in this little bit. Um, Only one running back is off the board in a very deep running back class. So I'm gonna see. Oh, we had the fur babies pick at 21. Oh, what? Let me find out. I think I know who's gonna be. Courage. What do you think? You do still Shador. Courage thinks it's gonna be Shador Sanders. I disagree completely. Chanel. All right, bud. Chanel's the biggest one. Chanel wants someone shaped like him. He wants a defensive tackle, a run stopper. Yeah. Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon out of Oregon. There we go. Well, I'm sorry. Now we got other ones. So, okay. Tabitha Grace does not like to be touched, so she's not going to be asked today. Let's see. Elsie, who is the leanest one. What do you think? No. Elsie's going to surprise route. He's choosing Emmanuel Mbuka. You think Mbuka's going to. Oh. Are we training George Pickens? No. Okay, so Elsie sees us taking Mbuka mainly because he does not think Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson are going to work out. So he thinks we're going to need that and prepare for that inevitability. So you have all over the place. You have Derek Harmon from Chanel, Curd, Pick Sanders. I don't even want to get into that with him. It's always something with that cat. I don't know. So, uh, yeah, quick recap here. The Steelers are going to pick at number 21, about 10:30 p.m. The amount of people that are just as mad as I am at the Dolphins right now is hilarious. I think it's that's funny. So the Falcons last year, the Falcons were the ones that really did that mess up by taking the quarterback despite the fact they had Kirk Cousins, and that whole thing was just delightful. Um, but I don't know how they pull another Falcons this year, so we'll definitely see. Yeah, yes, thank you, Amanda Godzi. Just made sure that remind us all that Kenneth Grant was often mocked to the Steelers. Yes, I know, I mocked him there myself, so that's good. So we're going to see quick update because you know where my big board was. Chris Carter covers the Steelers right now for Pittsburgh PG. He sees his number one. Actually, he is 2 players above Derek Harmon, both cornerbacks. So let's look at that for just 1 second. If the Steelers decide that Derek Harmon is either not their guy or he's not on the board, a guy I said before we were getting ready to Brian was Jahdae Barron is not a bad name at all. That's an interesting thing for anybody who doesn't fully understand what Relic was saying. The Cowboys connection to Pickens has been irritatingly strong during this whole is Pickens going to be traded and the whole following on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. There's a very good chance that the Cowboys could think that. Jerry Jones likes to take those big swings. Jerry Jones likes to make stupid swings more often than not. But it all comes down to how badly the Cowboys want him. I thought that if the Cowboys were going to make a legit run for him, they were going to have to possibly use a high value pick like a second to get the Steelers to even start to consider it. I don't see that happening. But you never know. This draft it's quietly crazy. That's I think the best way I can describe this draft right now. It's quietly crazy because nothing is really like thrown the entire train off the tracks yet. But it kind of feels like the train's moving a little faster than everybody expected. So let's see what we're doing here. The Falcons are taking. Yes, they are. They really are. So I keep expecting to see who they're going to take, and I haven't. I just keep seeing consistent reminders that we're not going to be taking the player who I thought we were going to take. So, another important thing to know about the Steelers' defensive tackle hopes right now, Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan are the two most. Like Darius Alexander out of Toledo is still going to be there, but he's a later pick. To me, he's not the first round pick at 17. In 2 picks, the Falcons whenever they pick, but yeah, the Falcons here. In 2 picks, the Bengals pick. The Bengals have been linked to defensive tackles quite often throughout the entire draft. And that could be another thing to throw. So right now what I'm saying, if the Steelers are wanting Derek Harmon and the Steelers have their sights set on Derek Harmon, then there could be a possibility that the Steelers look up at this and they say, I really don't trust the Bengals and I'm going to move up and jump in front at 16. That's a possibility. They did it before, so I don't know if it's going to happen. So let's see. Oh, people are starting to really, really circle the drain already. Everyone take a deep breath. We haven't selected Shador Sanders yet. And even if we have, at least it's not Aaron Rodgers. So I'm trying to prepare myself on the off chance because I still remember, for anyone who hasn't heard this, or I told it like as many times as I can remember on the thing, but like a minute or maybe less before we took Kenny Pickett, I remember I turned to my wife and I said the worst possible thing the Steelers could do right now is select Kenny Pickett. And they did, and I screamed. I remember that very specifically. And this could be another situation. So I don't want to speak that into existence like I did before and jinx it all. But yeah, things are falling strangely. So I'm still trying to see here at the Falcons what's going on here. So apparently things were moving nice and fast until the Falcons got involved. So yes, I know Kenneth Grant fills a valuable place for the Dolphins. I wanted him to come and be a valuable part of the Steelers. That was the whole point. So the Falcons currently picking at 15. At some point in the next 3 years, we'll find out what their pick is, and then we have the Cardinals at 16. And the Bengals at 17 is another one we're all going to be watching. I didn't even think to watch the Dolphins at 13, but apparently that was where I should have started. So this is, like I said, it really feels like a quietly weird draft. Yes, Courage? No one's impressed with your Shedeur Sanders. Okay, I will cheer. I will do all of the things that I do, but I do not think that is the pick they should make. This is insane. I'm seriously starting to think I'm either going crazy in very, very weird remote control specific parts. Oh, exactly. No, Relic, that's what I was thinking. When a team takes this long, it normally means that there's something going on. And there's too many good players that teams should jump on right now for them to not have made a pick already. So I have to imagine that this is where a trade could happen. So I don't think 6 spots is a lot to move up, especially in the first round. So, but uh, is there any chance at all the Steelers could be on the board soon? Are we going to be on the clock soon? No, 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 no. There it is. For anybody who wants to know, another pass rusher, Jalen Walker. He's listed as a linebacker out of Georgia, but he's also an edge rusher because that's a big linebacker. Um, he's 6'5", 245. That's a Ben size. That's a Ben Roethlisberger size linebacker. So yep, there you go. Thank you very much. We're gonna put Relic's thing on the board there. So after taking forever, they don't trade. They take Jalen Walker. So another pick that does not affect the Steelers. We are now at 16, and any of these, the Steelers could move up depending on how we feel. But this, to me, is the most likely place if the Steelers are dead set on Derek Harmon or dead set on a defensive lineman. This is where they could move up. I don't. And again, I don't think they would. The last one, it got me like all hyped up about the fact that they could move up because I still remember the Broderick Jones trade, and I was live when they did that. So now that's a good point. Relic brings up an excellent point there. Kirk Cousins has, I think, been a thorn in their side from the second they signed him and realized how beat up he was. So they could have easily been trying to move Kirk, and when they realized that nobody wanted to take Kirk Cousins, goodness gracious. Okay, well, I'm going to give everybody a minute or two to take a deep breath. We're going to have the next pick up. We got the Cardinals next. So I'm going to set my headphones down and do a quick breath thing, and I will be back in just one moment. Check your social media, do your post, get a drink of water, take a deep breath, stand up, let your shoulders go, breathe, relax. We still got plenty of picks until the Steelers, plenty of time until then, and maybe a trade. You never know. Let's see what's going on. I'll be back in just 1 second. We're going to check in really quick, see if anything has changed. We have people desperately hoping that the Steelers do not take Shedeur Sanders. We have people desperately hoping the Steelers do take Shedeur Sanders. This fan base is insane, man. That's what you got to love about it. So we have the Falcons just picked. On the clock, we have the Arizona Cardinals right now. I'll say it again. This is a place where there's a chance that the Steelers trade up here. This is the first time I really feel there's a chance, and only to protect their pick of Derek Harmon, because Derek Harmon is someone who was ranked high on a lot of people's boards. Like I said earlier, a lot of people had Derek Harmon ranked above Kenneth Grant. I didn't, but that could have been a positional thing there. So if the Steelers believe that at 17 the Bengals are going to be taking a defensive tackle, this is where you make your move, because there is no way. 1 second, I'm trying to see if the remote fell in here, because there is no way the Bengals are going to make a trade with us. We already know that. So if the Bengals are not going to make a trade with us, then the only option to get in front of them is, of course, right here, the Cardinals. So Genuinely don't know if it's going to happen. I have no insider information saying it's going to happen. I'm simply saying from what I am looking at on the board. So that is what I'm hoping. Let's see what's up. Yeah, I'm looking all over this board. That to me, that if the Steelers are taking defensive tackle and they're worried about, that's what would happen. But if not, then this Shador Sanders thing is just going to keep continuing. So. No, the Falcons selecting Delon Walker's that was expected. I think what I've kind of missed here, because neither one affected the Steelers' plan, was that we have seen many runs on both offensive linemen and edge to a point, which I'm good with. Continue that, because right now we're getting closer and closer, and I can feel that the nerves start to build up the closer we get, because this is a question we've all been wanting an answer to for quite a while. Okay, so Andrew Filipponi, 93.7, just tweeted out that the Cardinals and the Bengals and the Buccaneers all could take defensive linemen. So this could be a place where none of them want to trade out. So none of that could be happening right now. So we're gonna time to get nervous here, Steeler Nation. It really is, and I don't normally just straight up say get nervous, but I don't want Shador Sanders on this football team. We're not the team that he should go to. It's not the right situation. It's not the right move for anybody. That should not happen. So we're going to spend a little time looking for that remote again. So I really do think part of me is feeling like I've gone insane, considering I have no idea what I did with this thing. So let's go through some of the stuff. Nope. All right. Well, what we got here is just to reiterate the tweet from Andrew Filipponi just a second ago. Said the Cardinals select Walter. No, wow. Okay, Walter Nolan. Derek Harmon goes third out of Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. That's crazy. That is not something I expected. That's not something most boards expected. So right now, I would not be surprised at all if Derek Harmon went at 17, and then you had Darius Alexander at number 19. If that's set up that way, the Steelers might just talk themselves into a Shador Sanders pick. I think I might feel the ground beneath me implode from the Steeler fan base, just going absolutely berserk if that happened. There are much worse things that can happen. There could be the selection. We could select someone like Jalen Miller or Tyler Shuck, way up there at 1, when we absolutely should not consider either one at that position. But it's just the nerves, man. The confirmation by Pony that many teams were looking for defensive line help rattled my cage a little bit, and then the actual selection of the player completed that rattling. So, if you are just joining, first of all, I really want to thank you for joining the Steel City Huddle Day 1, Round 1 NFL Draft live stream. It's the only one we're doing live. We're going to be doing a reaction tomorrow after I get home from work around 7. And then we're going to be doing our regular show next Tuesday. But this is just one of the greatest things that I love doing. I started live streaming the first round of the draft about 4 years ago, and I'm really excited to be doing it again. You have so many options of places to watch this, and instead you're hanging out with me and my cats. So I really appreciate the hell out of that. So it's important to make sure I vocalize that before anything else, because if you guys weren't watching and you guys weren't showing your love for us, there's really no reason for me to even be out here doing this at all. So I'm going to upset my cat right now, and I knew you were going to jump at me. See, this cat I'm not kidding when I say this. He's actually part Bobcat. His dad was like half Bobcat, so dude's like 25. So every once in a while, his playing gets a little non-playing. So Bengals are on the clock. Okay, so the nerves are real. Let's do a fun little recap here. We have the Bengals at number 17, sitting right here. Bengals at number 17. Seahawks at 18. Bucks at 19. Broncos at 20 before they pick. At Steelers at 21. We have the Bengals and the Bucks both rumored by Andrew Filipponi to be also looking at defensive tackles. We only have one remaining that is a first round pick to me, and that's Derek Harmon out of Oregon. To me, still a dynamic pick that would be excellent for the Steelers, but that's a lot of guys, that's a lot of teams to make it through to get to us right now. And that's the really, really frustrating part about this, that all of the work, and I genuinely had talked myself into the fact that because Grant and Harmon seemed like boring, normal, stable choices, that of course they were going to be there whenever we went to draft them. This happening is just frustrating me. So I'm hoping, I was really hoping to, get some positivity from finding the remote at some point, and that has not happened. So really confused on that part. But guess what I found? Oh my goodness, the entire thing. Okay. For anybody who's been watching at the beginning, I found the remote. So I put the light thing together earlier, and I guess I put this in the bag with it. Wonderful. So let's go to a thing that's actually going to work. So right now, we're still waiting. Okay, so give a really quick update from Mike DeFabo, who covers the Steelers for The Athletic. The top 30 visitors, so the prospects the Steelers had in for top 30 visits, still had first round grades that are on the board still. Derek Harmon, Amarian Hampton, Matthew Golden, the edge rusher Shamar Stewart, Nick Emanwari, the safety, and Shador Sanders. Also Jackson Dart could be included in that. So it's just there's not a lot. Okay, there you go. There you go. Shamar Stewart. Have all the Shamar Stewart you want, Bengals. Have it. Take two of them if you want. Enjoy your edge rusher. Pay Trey Hendrickson that much money, you better take an edge rusher. What is wrong with you, Bengals? My goodness gracious. Okay, so we can take a breath. We just passed the Bengals at 17. We have the Seahawks at 18. I'm not sure at that point. I think the Seahawks are going to be looking for that wide receiver. I think Matthew Golden is going to go here, or Emmanuel Mbuka. That is my guess, because it's the trade that I think is going to cause that. So there is a gap there, and I think we're going to be absolutely fine for this pick. I don't think this is going to affect us at all. Just like the Bengals pick, thankfully, didn't affect us at all. Really, really quick. If you're watching this, just take a moment, take a breath, make sure your shoulders aren't all tight, relax your tongue, shake things out. It's a long night. I have been here for about 2.5 hours. Wonderful you have been checking in the entire time. I really appreciate you all. And for the first time since Travis Hunter was selected, I have a TV that's working. So I actually get to see what's going on now. And we get to I hope you guys are okay with the little segment of Zach looking for the remote not occurring. So I know it's so exciting. I'm so happy that the chat's following along with my desperate search for this remote. So, and by the way, anybody who forgot, hopefully you didn't forget. Next year the draft is in Pittsburgh. So that's another reason why I'm hoping we don't take Shador Sanders. I would love for the franchise quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be selected while the draft is in Pittsburgh. I think that's poetic. So here we go. The Bengals fans are dancing. They're about to take someone that has no effect on the Steelers, so that is great. Again, we are at pick number 18. The Steelers are about to pick. We are right on schedule for the Steelers to pick right around 10:30, maybe a little later on 10:45, depending on how much time these teams use. You just had the Cardinals selecting Walter Nolan, which is insane because Kenneth Grant went at number 13 to the Dolphins. So you have both defensive tackles the Steelers had and that I wanted. So let's see here. We got Relic jumping in. All the players the Steelers were looking for so far have been drafted. It's gonna be Sanders. I'm so fucking mad. Yep. You know what? It's gonna be really, really hard for all of us who understand why Sanders shouldn't be the pick to get on board with it if it does become the pick. Because everyone who cheers for the Steelers or any team like we do for the Steelers understands that whenever that player's taken, get mad about it if you want, throw your fit, do your thing, and then take a deep breath and find a way to cheer for the Steelers. That's what you do. That Sanders pick is going to make it difficult because I watched him run for his life for 2 years at Colorado. I don't think it's going to be a lot of fun watching him run for his life in Pittsburgh. We just had a year of that. I don't really know why we want more of that. So that's confusing. So and another a surprising thing, I thought I have this Red Bull sitting here. I really thought I was going to have that. No. If I have that, I ain't sleeping for 2 days. So I'm much more awake than I expected to be. All of the absolute nerves of the fact that 2 out of the 3 defensive tackles that I thought were going to be there. Like, I am not kidding. I thought we were going to get to 21 and we were going to have Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, and Walter Nolan all just waiting there. Instead, we had not have a single cornerback come off the board yet. If this is the second straight draft where we get to the Steelers pick and the Steelers have every single cornerback available like they had last year, and I don't want a cornerback this year. There's better things. Oh no. Anyway, so at 18, we have the Cardinals on the board right now. Let's see what Relic said about that. Yep. Okay, I 100% agree with that. That if you take Sanders, and there has been people today, I was listening to Steeler radio that said the only way the Steelers pick Sanders is if they know beyond a shadow of a doubt this is the guy who can get us to a Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I don't think Sanders is that guy. That's where we are. So to recap, which we have many times throughout the night because it's the draft and things change. We are draft pick number 18, Steelers pick at number 21. The Seahawks are on the board right now, and I genuinely believe this is where we're going to see another wide receiver go off the board. You had McMillan from Arizona go off the board early, and this is another place I think we could see Matthew Golden here. I think you could see Egbuka go off the board here. Either of that. NFL Network is in calls saying the Steelers are getting calls about teams wanting to trade up. I am not surprised about that at all. The Steelers said they actually were heavily looking into trading back. The Seahawks pick is in. Don't know who it is yet. I'm really, really nervous about this. This is so different. We have Baku, big Steeler fan on Twitter right now, desperately hoping someone doesn't leapfrog us and take Shador Sanders. You have me, Relic, and a bunch of others really, really hoping that either someone does or that we simply don't take Shador Sanders. So I'm not kidding. Right down the middle of the Steeler fan base is where that line is going to be. Seahawks pick. I'm so nervous about the Seahawks pick right now. Only because I okay, the Seahawks are going to be picking. So for a moment there, apparently the Seahawks were looking to trade down. And the Seahawks, I hope no one minds that I'm going to ruin here. Gray Zabel to them, not someone even close to the Steelers. It's a center out of North Dakota State. Really solid guy for them. I love this pick for the Seahawks. It's not the wide receiver sexy I thought it was going to be, but goodness, do I love the trenches, and I love when a good center is taken. Hashtag Zach Frazier. So another person that does not affect us. So we are now at 19. Here is where it could all go off the rails. We're at 19. We're at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Andrew Filipponi from 93.7 posted that the Bucks are a team that is seriously looking at a defensive tackle. There's one defensive tackle left on the board that I believe has a first round grade, and that is Derek Harmon, who, yet again, it is just baffling to me that Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant went off the board before them. I had that going that way, but I thought that was going to be just me. Apparently, other people did too. So the Bucks are sitting there at number 19. The Steelers had a chance to leapfrog. If they were going to, Seattle would have a place to do it. So they, in my head, they have to feel comfortable about being where they are right now. So I love seeing offensive linemen get picked because there's just seems to be this steady confidence. Like, yeah, I know I'm going to play in the NFL. I'm fine. My family could get excited, but I'm just accepting of this reality now. So at 19, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then at number 20, we have the Broncos. 20 is where either the Broncos or another team is going to trade up and pick Omari and Hampton. That's what I believe. So if you ask me, and I'm not going to be happy about this, what these next two picks are going to be, and I really, really hate that I'm going to say this right now. Based on the way things are falling, and I'm so sorry, Relic, I'm going to say it, and I don't want to. I really, really don't. But the way everything is shaping up right now, Shedeur Sanders will be available at 21, and I'm not happy about that because if Derek Harmon doesn't go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would be shocked because I can just hear people in Tampa saying we want a Warren Sapp 2.0, just like we're saying we want a Cam Hayward 2.0. I and especially since I guarantee the Buccaneers are just sitting there saying there's no way Derek Harmon's still available to us, right? There's no way he just fell to us, right? Or there's a chance that there's still more edge rush. James Pierce Jr. is still out there at the edge. Donovan Ariaku is there. There's people that are still there on the edge that aren't defensive linemen that we need. So I know, Relic. I'm not trying to speak it into existence. I am preparing people just on the off chance. I mean, yeah, by people, I mean, the other two people that watch. It's funny, but I think it's more because I don't want to be completely blindsided by it. I really don't. I'd rather kind of know it was coming and be prepared for it and let it fit. But I'm not going to be happy about it no matter what because I want Derek Harmon so badly. I, I'm I'm just I'm waiting, and I'm waiting to see anything here about it. Just tell me. Do I have to wait? And because if Shorter Sanders is there at 21, we all know the smart thing to do. And the smart thing to do is to trade back and use all the hype around Sanders to get yourself that draft haul that you don't have right now in a rebuild that you, whether you admit it or not, are in the middle of. Buccaneers pick is in. I'm looking because I don't mind about this getting ruined for me. I want to know. Right now, Mark Caboli has his top three as Derek Harmon, Emmanuel Egbuka, and Omarion Hampton are his top three right now. Still nothing about this. Nothing at all about what Tampa's taken yet. Not that I see, at least. Still look. I just want to know. I just want to know if I have to be mad about it. Going to Amanda Godsey. Amanda Godsey covers the Steelers freelance. Decent chance Shedeur Sanders and Derek Harmon are both on the board at 21. There's a very good chance of that. And there it is, number 19. The Buccaneers have picked Emmanuel Egbuka Wide receiver, Ohio State University. Defensive tackle is still on the board. Derek Harmon is still there for the Pittsburgh Steelers to take at number 21. So, to recap, at number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have selected Emmanuel Egbuka out of Ohio State, which is the best thing that could happen because Derek Harmon is still there. Derek Harmon, to me, is the repellent to the Shedeur Sanders. Because if he wasn't there, then the Steelers would just be focusing on that. It would be a whole thing. Derek Harmon is still there. I cannot see the Broncos want to that. But here's where it's interesting. The Broncos have been talking all week about wanting to trade down, about being willing to do that and being inviting people to do that. And this, I am so nervous right now. I am beyond nervous because this is where, because of Derek Harmon's availability and because of the absolute fact of knowledge everywhere around the entire NFL, the Steelers want a defensive tackle. There's a very good chance the Broncos could use that to trade back with another team, give that team Derek Harmon, and really fuck us over. Because that would throw, because right now, so for anybody, right now the best available according to ESPN and ABC, Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall, Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas, Shedeur Sanders. Well, the fact that Derek Harmon isn't in that top, but this is crazy. What is that? What do people know about Derek Harmon and Tyler Warren that we didn't know? This is crazy. So the Buccaneers, Emmanuel Egbuka is a wonderful wide receiver. I would have loved to come for him to come to here at some point, but there is no realistic way. Andrew Filipponi is reporting Adam Schefter just said Mike Tomlin is a fan of Shedeur Sanders. Arthur Smith is a fan of Shedeur Sanders. Okay, Nick Farabaugh is reporting the Broncos are sticking at 20th overall. There will not be a trade. So the Broncos are sticking at 20th overall. That means, to me, what it means is Omarion Hampton is about to go. And by the way, it was only one pick off with the Emeka Egbuka. So just one off. Not mad about that. And I'm really sorry. I've been saying Emmanuel. It's Emeka. That's my problem. That's my fault. I was getting that mixed up with the safety. So we have the Steelers one pick away. We're right there. We are right on the board. Oh, Mike Tomlin should just draft his son in 21. Fuck Sanders. Well, if anyone was wondering where Relic landed on this, he has been a little subtle. So I think we should ask for a bit more clarification on the matter. And just because I am not as vocal about this does not mean I'm any less opposed to it. I am very, very opposed to it. And to me, it has nothing to do with who Shedeur Sanders is as a quarterback. I think he's a very, very accurate quarterback. I think he could translate well to a lot of different NFL packages. And I've said this before, I think he would be the perfect pick for the Steelers in 3 years. Not right now. It is putting the cart, but it is not even putting the cart before the horse. It is putting the cart before you've bought the wheels and before you have the property to keep the cart on. So you are thinking way too far ahead for this. It's so frustrating. Yeah, opposed to Sanders is doing one. Yep, straight up opposed. I understand that completely. Right now, the best thing for the Steelers should do is hug each other, say, I'm so happy the Buccaneers didn't take Derek Harmon, and you pick Derek Harmon. And Cam Hayward, wherever he is watching this from with his family, gets to take a deep sigh of relief knowing that when he's gone, he gets to pass the torch to someone that actually can live up to it. Oh, goodness gracious. One of those few moments I'm really, really glad I don't drink or smoke anymore because I'd probably be like 2.5 packs in by now. So I'm very, very glad that is behind me because draft night was always the most unhealthiest night when it came to shit like that. So again, we got the Broncos on the clock at number 20, according to Nick Farabaugh, who reported that I saw first, that they will not be trading back. The Broncos will be staying at number 20. I think that is good. Let's see what we got here. We got Golden, Hamlin, Tomlin, anyone at quarterback, please. No, I agree. We do not need a quarterback. We do not need a quarterback. If people didn't hear me the first time, we don't need a quarterback. Ride with Rudolph. That's what I say. Make t-shirts. Do the whole thing. If you didn't love the singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at Christmas 2 years ago when Rudolph was saving us, I don't really know how much of football you really love. Because that was a beautiful moment. So let's have fun. We brought Metcalf in. We got Pickens. We're going to bring in some more awesome, fun people. We're going to bring another running back in at one point to help Jalen Warren. We're going to have an offense that has potential to at least be fun. Oh, okay. Relic is saying right now the Giants are talking to the Broncos. Okay, that would not surprise me at all. Trying to think. So if I am the Giants right now, the Giants. It would surprise me if the Giants took Harmon. It really would. The Giants might be looking, or that would surprise me. That really would. That kind of a jump back up would really surprise me. So let's see. A lot. Yeah, everyone's pretty much saying the same thing. It's there's two different groups right here in the Steelers fan base. There's the Shedeur Sanders group, and then there's the Derek Harmon group, and then a much smaller group below that is the Omarion Hampton group. And I only believe that group is so small, is because the depth of this running back class is so deep that you shouldn't have to take him there. Yeah. Oh, my mom remembers when Rudolph saved us. Oh, there we go. Come on, Relic. There you go. Giants Sanders is there. Trade the pick. Look. So everything people can do. Let's manifest this. Manifest not taking Sanders. I'm trying to see. Okay, Mel Kiper Jr. I'm not a fan of Mel Kiper. I know he gets more right than wrong, but the quote from him is Shedeur Sanders will come back to haunt organizations that are passing him up. I do not agree. Okay. Cam Hayward posted 53 minutes ago and said, man, watching all these people flake after they said we're taking a quarterback is interesting. Okay, so Cam Hayward is enjoying it tonight. The pick is in, no trade. Okay, the pick is in. The Broncos will take somebody. I'm looking to see who it is. I don't mind ruining it. Okay. It's not confirmed. There it is. It just got confirmed. Cornerback Jahdae Barrett is going to the Denver Broncos. That's going to be one of the most dangerous cornerback groups in the entire NFL. That's a legit. So the cornerback group in Denver got much better. Right now, of course they are. Right now they're showing Deion Sanders on the TV. I am okay, guys. This is it. The Steelers are on the clock. The Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock. I have already seen Christopher Carter is saying his sources are telling him it's going to be Derek Harmon. Nothing for sure. Just to show you how insane we are as a fucking fan base. I'll go through this. We have Christopher Carter, saying that the Steelers are going to take Harmon. You have someone saying we're going to get Milrow. You have someone saying that we have to get wide receiver. You have someone saying go cornerback since that's where the run is. Okay. There's a lot. Okay, so according to Nick Farabaugh, the three notable, he says notable, not the ones he should pick or all that, notable names on the board. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. For anybody who needs to know about the person that I believe we're about to pick, there you go. You got Derek Harmon right there. This is the man that I believe we're about to pick. And I believe we should pick because 2 reasons. Number one, you get the successor to Cam Hayward. You can stop that horrible leaky run defense by bringing someone in like this, and you don't take Shedeur Sanders. So just a quick reminder, after the Steelers pick, I'm going to be sticking around for about 15, 20 minutes talking about it and all that. It is late. I worked all day, so I have to work tomorrow in the morning. So I am going to help recap all this, but the reaction to everything else is going to go on is tomorrow night with me and Leanne. That's where you're going to see that. At 7, me and Leanne are going to be doing a reaction to everything that happened today and what happened tomorrow. So to do a nice little recap, at number 19, where everybody was sure defensive tackle was going to go, they did not take a defensive tackle. At number 20, where everyone was worried a trade was going to happen, instead Jahdae Barron, cornerback, went yet again to make a very dangerous combination there. The Steelers on the clock. Okay, so if we got 3 people here. If you want to let me know who you want in there, we know who we don't want. So Matthew Golden, Relic is willing that into the universe. Now, a question for you, Relic: if we take Matthew Golden, does that mean we are going to trade George Pickens? That's the question, because to me, all I've heard all day is if the Steelers take a wide receiver in the first round, it is 100% points to us not wanting to keep Pickens around. So I was curious if, because you said Matthew Golden, if that was the logical next step for you. Okay, we keep Pickens and Golden. I gotta say, Pickens, Golden, and Metcalf, that's a dangerous trio. And if you do that, that almost forces Arthur Smith's hand, because he's not a guy who likes to use a lot of wide receivers. He likes multiple tight end sets and all that. But at this point, maybe someone would have to, pull him aside and say, hey, I really think that we need to use all 3. The Steelers pick is in. We're not sure who it is. I don't mind ruining this. I'm looking right now. I'm not. There it is. The Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of motherfucking Oregon. Okay, it is a. I'm really hoping I didn't ruin. I said it's. I don't care if I ruined it. So that's insane. That's insane. We got Derek Harmon. Like it. I thought it was going to feel anticlimactic, and it doesn't at all. It feels just as good as I was expecting that to. So we see right here, Derek Harmon. What is he? Number 1. He is the natural successor to Cam Hayward. We've been talking about Cam Hayward aging. We tried to bring in DeMarvin Leal. That didn't really work out. Dewitt left. Hargrave left. Loudermilk didn't work out. Leal and Lee last year. All these guys aren't working out. Derek Harmon is the successor to Cam Hayward. We now have a guy who can come in learn from Cam Hayward and then continue on with the torch. And number 2, we didn't take Shedeur Sanders. That it's just a wonderful place to be in that we didn't take him. So Shedeur Sanders will most likely continue to drop because the Chargers do not need a quarterback. The Packers don't need a quarterback. The Vikings don't need a quarterback. The Texans, the Rams. Now, the Rams is an interesting place because a lot of people have been saying they kind of want to do a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers thing. Where are they? I forget. The Rams are in Los Angeles. I forgot. And Shedeur Sanders could go there and learn behind someone like Matthew Stafford, but in that case, I genuinely think it would actually be a different quarterback. Jackson Dart would probably be brought in. I cannot see another place on this board where he falls to. That's it. I think if Shedeur Sanders does not go at 26, he's not going to go in the first round. But the Steelers have taken Derek Harmon. Oh Lord. Okay, so we needed a punch in the stomach as we're all celebrating. Apparently, ESPN is reporting Aaron Rodgers is helping the Steelers with the draft to choose who he wants. Well, I did say in the pre-draft show that a big downside to us not taking Shador Sanders is, oh wow. See, this is what I want in a Pittsburgh. I'm watching Derek Harmon get drafted, and he was overwhelmed with emotion. Like his family is like getting excited, but you could see he was just it meant so much to him because I know he understands where he went. So this is a big human being that is exciting. I am so excited for this. I genuinely don't think that other than Casey Hampton, other than Cameron Hay, we've seen someone like this since Casey Hampton. Despite even though Casey was a nose tackle, so this is insane. So to do a nice fun recap, despite the fact that Shador Sanders was sitting there at 21, the Steelers do what everyone said they were going to do near the end of the day today and pass on him. They decided since Harmon was there, they were going to trade back. They were going to take him. Okay, no, this is fine. Just because I am happy does not mean other people need to be happy at this point. I perfectly understand that. So we should have gone off, and we definitely still could. There's more than enough for us to be able to do it. We still could find a way to trade back up into the second round. But yeah, that is a lot of people are going to see this as a very non-sexy pick, and I think it's sexy. So that's a good point. There are weapons that are needed on this team. I think what the Steelers are doing is because there's a plan with this organization with Weidel and with Khan leading the charge now that there's people going, yeah, you definitely go to bed happy now. That the weapons will come. Unfortunately, I don't know if the ones you're looking for are going to be coming this year. Only because it's the players like Harmon, the normally seen as non-sexy, stable, decades-long trenches players are necessary to get before you can start spending on the Maserati. What we do is we had to buy the house first, then you put in the garage, and then you can get the fancy car to go in the garage. Uh I think this draft is built in the garage. So no, I don't see Golden falling in the third. The problem is the wide receiver class was weak in the first place. It was not a strong point of this group. And so once you get past that second, everything below there, I think would be equivalent to like a fourth round, fifth round wide receiver in other drafts, that you're gonna get now. So the Steelers at 21, we take Derek Harmon. There was Matthew Golden was on the board. So was Shador Sanders. So was Omarion Hampton, and the Steelers instead chose to fill that gap. I genuinely believe a lot of this was that scar tissue from the 299 rushing yards that the Ravens put on the Steelers. I genuinely believe that. So we're going to wrap up here. I really appreciate every single person joining. There was only like a brief moment where there wasn't anybody in the room. Other than that, there's been consistently been someone here, and I really appreciate every single person. So let's see what that's Relic has been a mainstay in this chat tonight. So is my mom. So is my wife. Thank you for everyone who has been here tonight. We're going on 3 hours, which is around the time I thought that I was going to be on. Relic says, true, I don't hate Harmon. I want an offensive weapon. Harmon's a good pick. It's always not what Tomlin do is get defense and get defense strong and throw it on. You know what? That is a very, very real concern, and it's a genuine concern, and one that unfortunately is a little more realistic than I would like it to be. Does this mean that Mike Tomlin is going to feel more empowered to throw all of it on the defense again? And I suppose the only positive I can give you to that is this is not going to sound like a positive, is the Steelers are not a team that's going to win something this year. We're not. I love if we were. It'd be great. We're not. So what we're doing this year is we're going out there. We're hoping for a surprise run. We're hoping to be, the Commanders from last year and, be competitive out of nowhere. But it's more likely a shot that we're gonna, just be able to see what this pairing of Pickens and Dick and Metcalf look like for the future. We're going to be seeing what this offensive line looks like, considering how much value we put into it. Because for all we know, Fautano could hurt his other knee, and Broderick Jones could just completely fail, and we would have to go back and spend on offensive line again next year. This is a very telling year. It really is. So it's a good first step. It's a lot of people are going to say boring first step. I know my friend Baku on Twitter is not happy right now. He was one of those people who desperately wanted Sanders. I know a lot of people really wanted Sanders, but I think right now more people are happy than are disappointed at the fact that we didn't take Sanders. So Filiponi says that if the Steelers take Hampton or Henderson tonight, Mike Tomlin and Khan should be fired immediately. I'll say if for some reason, I mean, O'Mara Hampton I can understand, but yeah, Pony was mad all day, man. He got on to his show today, and the very first thing he went on a rant on was about how real this George Pickens issue is, and from that moment, I knew he was just trying to get mad to be mad. So it's a whole thing. Goodness gracious. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. Again, I really appreciate everybody that joined in. Again, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Me and Leanne are gonna do a recap of everything that went on. We're gonna either be talking about where Shedeur Sanders fell to, or if he is still falling, and if he falls far enough, do the Steelers take him with a third round pick? I'm really sorry, Relic. I don't mean to throw that back into the world, but all those things we'll talk about. And then, of course, Tuesday we'll have our regular show where we'll look back about everything in the draft and really have a clearer picture about what this roster is going to look like going into 2025. If you didn't know from the massive picture on the front here, Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Cam Hayward gets to go to sleep happy tonight, knowing that it is not all on him now, and he can train his successor and then go off and enjoy all of the awards and things that he has waiting for him. So I want to thank all you guys here, and yet again, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Steelers at number 21 take Omari and Hampton. Everybody have a wonderful night from me, from our guest Brian Roach earlier, but most importantly from me and Leanne. Have a wonderful evening and go Steelers.
Leanne and Zach would like to thank you for tuning in to the Steel City Huddle podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.